right, so three, two, one, and we're back. It's time for the No Mutants Allowed 13th podcast. So the number of podcasts, not counting the impromptu, we have actually matched the number of the first Vault Dweller up to 13. Not quite a milestone, but this year it's been one roller coaster ride after another, especially these last few months, and there was no way we were going to avoid talking about this, not by a long shot. 76 tripping and falling over every single pothole in its path, face planting and losing teeth every single time. The embarrassment that was the Game Awards. Pick your poison. There was a lot of stuff these last few months and throughout the whole year that we just couldn't avoid talking about. So we'll see what we can pull up tonight. But first, we're going to start with 76. The universal embarrassment that this game is impressive.
Oh, God. Fallout 76.
Well,
seems like Bethesda can't go 1 week without a PR disaster.
Well, no. I mean, they did this to themselves. They really have no one to blame but themselves.
I know, and they so deserve it. MMA has been saying this for years.
All the way back in 2008, I believe, when Fallout 3 hit. I wasn't around the website at the time, but in retrospect, I should have recognized the warning signs of what was going to happen down the road.
Oh, I saw it a mile away.
And then, of course, they hand it over to Obsidian. They make New Vegas. 5 years later, we get Fallout 4, a massive regression, and now we end up 3 years later with Fallout 76, a game that is copy-pasted so blatantly there are actually notes in the source code that specifically reference Fallout 4 exactly the same way
Skyrim.
It is in the source code. Yeah, in Skyrim too. When it comes to the Scorchbeast Queens and the Scorchbeasts themselves.
Are you serious? Wing and Morrowind as well?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's actually bits of code in the creation engine that have existed since Morrowind, and it was referenced by the devs.
The fucking engine's a Frankenstein monster. But Arnest would tell you that the engine is not the problem, and we're just being a bunch of babies about it. I worked with this engine. I mod the game. I'm a modder. This engine's a piece of shit to work with. The guys who are working on Skyblivion have said that they have literally begged on their knees for Bethesda to make a new engine.
Or at the very least, start using something like Unreal Engine 4, which Obsidian Software, it turns out, is using for the Outer Worlds, and good on them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Unreal Engine 4 is nice, really nice. It's meant to make nice games and run really smoothly, and I can play a handful of games with that engine in pretty smoothly.
Bethesda are just too lazy to put in the effort to learn something that new because it would be too hard.
No, I think it's because if they moved engines, the modding user base that they have currently would have to learn the engine all over again.
I don't think anyone would care because it would probably be more efficient to mod it rather than have to deal with the creation engine like wanting to play nice, because if it doesn't want to do anything, can't make it work.
Yeah, I suppose, but again, I think the reason why they're not switching engines is partially because what Todd said, that it's extremely easy for them to keep using the same tools over and over again and just upgrading them over time. That and works. Also, yeah, that works okay if you're talking about stuff like the original id Tech 1 engine, the engine that powered Doom, and I believe it was the Quake 2 engine, which powered Postal 2. And look at Running with Scissors. They made Postal 2, I believe it was 2002, 2003, and then 11 years later they come back and make an expansion pack. Oh yeah, Unreal Engine 2, my bad.
Also, Bethesda knows that modders know this engine well by now. And like a lot of people said, like It's a Gundam said, Bethesda relies too heavily on its modding community to
Mm-hmm.
fix their shit.
Yeah, far too heavily. And I think that's the big reason why they don't switch, is because when the modders just have to learn a whole new engine, they may just bow out completely and just refuse to do it.
Why? I mean, there's a shit ton of modders for The Witcher 3.
I suppose, but that's The Witcher. I mean, that's the kind of game that people want to mod because it's feature complete. It's really nice. It's really nice and stable. At least, not at first it wasn't, but it is now. And it's a pretty nice engine to boot. So it's the kind of thing that people want to mod, and they want to mod it for fun. But with the Bethesda engines, people want to mod them to fix problems and glaring ones that they're having.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't want to mod Bethesda games for content. They want to mod it for stability and things like that. That's primarily what they want it for. So, yeah, there's a world of difference between Bethesda modding and modding for other games out
CD
there.
Projekt Red.
Yep. Even Deus Ex, the original Deus Ex from 2000, there's the New Vision mod, as well as several graphical overhaul mods, which are pretty nice. Some of which have chugged the engine a little bit, even with the graphics card I'm running on. But some of the old mods, like New Vision, I love them. It makes the game look beautiful, like it belongs in modern times. And yet, when it comes to the Bethesda Gamebryo engine, even with New Vegas, if I try and mod the game a little bit too much, there's too much of a risk of it breaking on me, so I don't even bother fixing the graphics or anything. I'll just take the stability patches and a few content patches and I'm good. But anyway, when it comes to 76, let's go back through the all right, we'll wait for a second. Anyway, while she's doing that, let's go over the timeline of this release. We had the beta come out 3 weeks before release, janky, buggy, and unstable, and barely anything was fixed. It's a 50 gigabyte patch. What else happened? The bag scandal, that was one thing. The complete copying of the source code, that was another. Yeah, there was no actual patch. It was just, yeah, the actual patch was like 200 megabytes, whereas when I was playing in the beta period and I saw there was a 50 gigabyte patch, my jaw fell open when I saw that. That is not a patch. That is a replacement of all the content. Yeah, also no client-side cheat detection, so it's extremely easy to cheat your way through the game if you know what you're doing. Oh yeah, the frames per second cap. If it goes over 60, then the game runs faster. Yeah, that's the same thing you can do in something like DOSBox. If you increase the CPU cycles, the game runs faster. All that, and it reeks of bad programming. Because modern games should not be having engine issues that come from the DOS era. That's just inexcusable.
I'm back.
What happened?
I was talking to my dad. Told him I'll talk to him later once I'm done.
Okay.
He just wanted to wish me a happy birthday.
Oh, cool. Happy birthday, then.
Yeah. 28. So
And-
old.
Well, you won't feel it immediately. Give it a couple months and you will.
I'm already feeling it. My back. I think I threw out my back and it's like killing me.
It's like you can't sit straight or you can't sit with an arch.
No, it's just like it's a searing pain.
No, that's not good.
I can't like bend I can't like stretch out or bend over.
Are you talking near the spine or around the abdomen?
The spine.
Yeah, that's probably something with your back. No idea what though. I'm not a doctor.
F.
Were you trying to say something, man?
Press F. Oh yeah, I love that. After the whole Diablo fiasco, people on their forums were like, "Press F for
Press
respect."
F to pay respects. You know,
yes,
that
it's 27 pages long and growing.
That meme is beautiful. I'm so glad we have
Yes.
that press X to press something to pay respects. We need to use that more often.
Press S to spit on Bethesda's grave.
Press B to bash down their doors.
Press P to piss on their grave.
But now the flowers will grow.
Press S to spit in Neil's face.
That's too good. Anyway, since since we're talking 76, why don't we starting from the press conference that we did the impromptu podcast on, why don't we start from there and itemize everything that has happened since then?
All
As
right.
much as we can remember, anyway. Alright, so the first thing that sticks out to me is the beta. That thing, it's for one thing, it's not a beta. It was just an acronym that they used to describe what this thing was.
It was also it's basically a glorified demo because this quote-unquote beta was released 2 weeks before launch.
Yeah.
The
Well,
thing
actually-
I remember Gundam saying is that betas today, they're not really betas. They're the full game.
Yeah. It's getting more and more common that the quote-unquote beta is essentially what we're going to see. Essentially what we're going to see at release. And Owing just brought up an interesting point. The 4chan leaks that came out months before the conference. I'd completely forgotten about those. I can't believe I forgot about that. That was actually one of the first instances of people having genuine concerns about what we were going to get. But anyway, I can't remember what exactly was in those leaks, but at the very least we did find out that it was multiplayer, that it was going to be always online, etc., etc. And then of course the beta came out, and I only played 10 hours and then canceled my pre-order because I saw the writing on the wall. And then comes the game's release, and people are reporting crashes, nausea. What else were there? Stability issues, server connection issues. Geez, what else? PvP problems. Like improperly placed light sources, models and animations not working. Let's see, what was the very first thing that went wrong outside of the extremely poor critical reception and bad stability? What else happened early on?
Well, there's the god awful textures. Like that was.
Yeah, the textures
awful.
were pathetic, and for how much information is stored on your Xbox or your PS4 or your PC, there's no excuse for that.
Oh no! I mean,
there's no way this stuff should be streaming. None of this should be streaming in the way that we saw, but it looks like the system is split 50-50 between what's on the server and what's on the client's console or PC. That's what it feels like from all the pop-in.
Especially when you look at a game like Black Desert, which the textures are beautiful.
Oh, I have Black Desert. I love it. That's the storyline's kind of weird, and that little black shadow is kind of creepy, but it's a little bit endearing after some time.
Beautifully made game, but
I highly recommend it if you're looking for a good multiplayer game.
Steam usually sometimes has it on sale, like their winter sales or summer sales for like $5.
Oh, I got it. I got it directly from the developer's website. I didn't get it from Steam. I didn't want to use that. I didn't want to use them at the time.
I can't blame you.
But anyway, let's see what else was happening in Fallout 76's early days aside from the poor critical reception. There were, I believe, there was also people digging into the source code and finding notes within the code that specifically reference Fallout 4 and Skyrim. So essentially, this game is a cobbled together collection of code from Fallout 4 and some bits from Skyrim.
Also, people dug in and found that they planned 6 DLCs for this game.
Yeah, they discovered the DLCs early.
And this is my problem. This is where I'm getting pissed off. How can Bethesda not know that there were going to people who were going to data mine the hell out of this game. That's the problem with all of Bethesda's games, is that their engine is so fucking easy to data mine.
Extremely
And
easy.
they had to have known.
I'm pretty sure they did know. And what's more, it brought us to the current problem that we have, which actually came out a day ago. We delayed this podcast by 2 days, and it turned out to be a perfect. It turned out to be the perfect move because, come to find out, there are actually potentially loot boxes in this game, similar to the lunch boxes from Fallout Shelter, and they even have similar icons to them. It's like, lo and behold, Bethesda lied again about the one thing they promised, about the one thing they quote unquote promised us would not be in this game, and lo and behold, there it is. Loot boxes.
P. Hines and his shitty grin telling everyone there's gonna be no loot boxes in this game. You don't have to. There's no microtransactions. You can work, level up, and get all the currency that you need to buy stuff. And according to Mr. Matty Plays, who played 70 hours of this piece of shit, he was only able to get 2,000 atoms
within that playtime, and you divide that into the number of hours. That's about 70 atoms per hour. That's extremely slow.
That's like Battlefront 2 slow.
Yeah, and like Owing's pointing out right now, they'll potentially say you perk card packs, and actually I called him on that right when the conference was going. When I saw those cards and how they opened up, that thing looked like it was loot box oriented to me, and lo and behold, there was removed code from that recent data mine that suggests that those perk cards may have been part of the Atom Store at one point.
Oh, and also the UI is fucking horrendous. The
no
UI
joke.
is so bad. The UI is so bad that Total Biscuit is probably spitting in his grave so fast that it can power up the United States for 100 years.
Oh, poor guy.
Because he used to go off on Bethesda and their horrendous UI.
I don't blame him.
It gets worse every installment that they make.
Yeah, it's because they prioritize the console so much that they never take the time to
escape the warfare of playing Fallout 76.
I guess that's the only benefit being dead is the Total Biscuit, unfortunately. Poor guy.
If you listen really closely, you can hear someone laughing up in heaven.
Yeah, he's probably giggling over. He's probably floating over Bethesda at the moment, giggling at them. It's like, I tried to warn you.
Because he was one of the few big names. Big name went off on Bethesda, and he got a lot of shit from people for that. And now people are realizing, oh shit,
he was right. He was 100% right, and now it's all laid on the table for everybody to see. Oh, speaking of...
It's too bad that he's dead that he can't gloat over it.
Yeah, there is that, but again, actually that reminds
Cancer's a bitch.
Yeah, indeed it is. Although speaking of tables and things, how about those nylon bags, eh?
Oh my god,
that was awful. That is false advertising right there. Bethesda should have had a class action lawsuit slapped on them the minute people realized that was going on.
They should, but I don't know. People I don't know. I that should have happened. I think it can still happen, but I don't know. I don't like people like Joe. Or at least I don't think it. I mean, I think it was Angry Joe. The people who are like, yeah, well, what they did was shitty, but don't sue them, bro. Don't sue them. Like,
that's the thing. Not? I mean, with a case like this is very clear false advertising because they said the bags were going to be made of canvas, and yet when these people got them, it was just nylon. And then Bethesda says later that we changed our mind halfway through. You're supposed to tell your buyers this. You're supposed to inform them that this kind of change is happening, and if you don't, that's considered false advertising. That is illegal under U.S. law.
It's funny because me and Torrent were talking to each other on the forums about this. I told them, I can go down to Hobby Lobby right now and buy canvas on the bulk for like $10 and make my own goddamn bag for the amount that it would take Bethesda to give bags to their fans who bought the special edition.
Yeah, canvas is not such an expensive material that they could use an excuse.
It's incredibly inexpensive.
Yeah,
I can buy canvas right now. Canvas, regular canvases for paintings for like a big thing of 18 by 24 for a 5-pack for like $10 at Hobby Lobby.
yeah. I mean, if in Hobby Lobby, if they're not running out, you're not running out.
Yep.
I found a canvas bag for $12, another one for $6. It widely ranges in prices, but yeah, it's inexcusable. If you're going to be paying $200 on a special edition and it advertises canvas, you should be getting canvas, like no questions.
Yeah.
Someone on MMA was able to find I forgot who it was. Sorry if I forgot your name, but someone was on MMA found the canvas bags that they gave to their pet YouTubers for direct from the
Oh
company
yeah,
for
the
two to
Greenbrier
five
event.
dollars.
Yeah, the
For two to
Greenbrier
five
event.
dollars.
Yeah. Oh, not only that. Oh, yeah. Sorry, my head's going ahead of my tongue here. Sorry. Essentially, what that is the canvas bags that Bethesda was advertising. Those are so stinking cheap. You could find them on Amazon right now for as low as maybe $5 to $30. That's it. And all they had to do was put a couple of decals on it. That's it.
Oh, it's
That's
funny that
all.
you mentioned.
That's all they had to do. And the people paying $200, they got screwed hard.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned the plastic helmet, O-Wing, because you can go on Etsy right now and find a helmet made by fans who actually give a shit and put time and care into their craft for about the same price as
Mhm.
the special edition. And this comes with and the helmets are custom fit, made with real metal and tubing and everything.
Yeah, I mean, on places like Etsy, you can easily find the stuff that Bethesda was advertising at a much better price. And a lot
And
of
better
these folks,
quality.
yeah, and a lot of these folks, I imagine they have access to laser printers, so they can very easily make this stuff on the cheap. So
Yep.
yeah, Bethesda screwed everybody who bought that $200 collector's edition. It was blatant false advertising. They knew it, and they tried to dodge out of it with the Adams offer and then the replacement canvas bag offer, and lo and behold, that had another problem. Come to find out, as soon as people put their information in, all that stuff started getting leaked to random users, so everybody was seeing each other's uh, information
They're,
that they were putting on those forums.
they're lucky that the gal that found out was actually a good person and was like, I'm not going to
Yeah,
leak out
and
this
warn them.
information. I'm just letting you all know.
Yeah, if someone unscrupulous had gotten their hands on that, they could have easily walked away with hundreds, if not thousands, of people's information and
You
screwed their
could have sold
lives
that
into
information.
the dirt.
People will pay money for that shit. So she could have also not only have released that information anonymously, but she could also have made money selling it to like people.
Yeah, that's the thing. So thank goodness she was actually a good person, because if someone else had found that information, I have no idea how many people would have gotten screwed over that. But Bethesda is making mistake after mistake after mistake, and at this point, if there's no lawsuit planted at their feet, then I'm going to lose any faith I have in anybody who pays attention to that company. They
I don't
need to
know.
they need to have some
Watched
kind of legal blowback from this. This is
I,
inexcusable.
I watched Gundam's video and they said that due to like there's this loophole and everything that Bethesda's going to use, and that it seems like nowadays the government goes out of the way to protect corporations more than consumers.
I just
Unfortunately,
don't see how that's going to work here, because this is an instance where a company is screwing up so badly that they need to have some kind of legal repercussions for it. And if they don't, it's gonna if they don't and something doesn't happen, it's gonna keep driving their buyers away. But
Well, when you have people like when you have YouTube like I don't know, since like big YouTubers that kind of like skew the discussion who are like, yeah, what Bethesda did was scummy and illegal. But don't take him to court though. Don't make him actually pay, reparations for like their shitty crime. Like, because I remember this was the same thing that happened when Casey Hudson was falsely advertising the different endings for Mass Effect 3. He said that there wouldn't
yeah,
be an ABC ending. But like when there basically was a ABC ending that didn't even take into account any of your choices, you could basically start up Mass Effect 3 and play that entire game, and the endings will be exactly the same as someone who played the trilogy. from start to finish because they fucked up morally. But that's another discussion in and of itself. But basically, the end result was when that lie surfaced, you had people like Joe, or at least you had, I don't know, like maybe some other people that I can't exactly remember off the top of my head saying, don't, take these corporations to court. You can complain about it and yell on social media, but don't ever take it to court. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why not? These people are, fraudulently making promises that aren't true, and they're doing it to,
Yeah,
get people's money. Well, I mean, you have every right to like take them to court.
indeed you
Come
do.
on, what the
And,
hell?
and especially with the canvas bag situation, that was a very clear case of false advertising on Bethesda's part. Again, that's why I say they really should need to be taken to court, and they really need to suffer some legal, possibly financial blowback from that. Because a lie of that magnitude and that open, they really should not be allowed to get off scot-free from that at
But
all.
guys, you get so much for the price that you get. You guys are just complaining over nothing. You guys should just appreciate what we got. I mean, we got a map that glows in the fucking dark. You guys are just so unappreciative. Oh, by the way, that's shit that I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't be surprised that the Bethesda fanboys and morons out there who defend them, this is the kind of thing they're going with. It's like, sorry, buddy, but your favorite company broke the law.
Your god's a false god.
Yeah, it's on the books that they broke the law. So it's about time they started facing some legal repercussions. If not now, then soon. And if they don't, then it's all on you what happens next, because you were just too complacent. You sat on your hands and did nothing. But yeah, we've got microtransactions, the canvas bag, the copying of code, instability, poor beta, and actually, Ranger, you brought this up earlier. The kids that Bethesda was pandering to, a bunch of them got banned for saying stuff in the game that Bethesda, I guess, arbitrarily stated that they didn't like. And actually, if I remember correctly, they only got banned because the person who was recording them at the time reported them to Bethesda. So, like the little soy boy that he was, he couldn't take a joke.
Yeah. An adult man got so triggered by a bunch of idiot high schoolers yelling gay slurs. I mean, my God. What happened to men? Grow a pair of balls. Jesus Christ.
Don't ask me. I'm not one of these people. I'm not so insecure that kind of stuff would get to me.
12-year-olds on Twitter all the time tell me to go fuck myself because I mock their blood sports community. And I'm like, whatever. Just God.
Well, again, that's part of the reason why I don't mind some of these people. I know they're idiots, but I'll laugh at them when I laugh. I'll laugh at them when I damn well please.
They're just high school kids, and that are just being edgelords. I mean, my brothers acted like that all the time. This is where I got in a fight with some people on MMA. They're like, they should have got doxxed. Bethesda did the right thing, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you fucking. And I know it's mostly guys. I'm like, you fucking soy boys, shut the fuck up. Especially you, Roman File. I mean, he's like, I'm like, I have brothers and their friends, and some of the things and shit they say will probably make them clutch their pearls so hard that it would turn to dust.
Their problem then, not yours or mine.
No.
But anyway, so yeah, Fallout 76, it's been around 1 month since it released. Around 1 month to the day that it's released. Well, at least from the day this podcast is being recorded. And this thing has been just a slow motion train wreck since day one. And it's at times glorious and depressing and worrying and hilarious. All four of these things at once. It just depends on which day you tune in and what you see. So here's the question: what exactly is going to happen to this game now? The reception is tainted to the point that even if they have 2.5 million buyers of the game at launch, I'd imagine at least 40 to 60% are gone right now. And if that loot box thing becomes a reality, even more of them are going to leave. And there's barely going to be anybody left when the mods come back. And when they do come back, they're going to have this entire PR disaster of a month to try and win these folks back, and yet it's going to be on people's minds. Like, why should we trust you? This whole first month has been a disaster, and yet you want us to come back. Like, no, it's not going to happen.
Oh, Bethesda constantly fucks up. I mean, the canvas bags, the microtransactions, the banning the player fan base that they've dumbed down the Fallout series to pander to.
Yeah, this actually, this podcast could probably just easily be our review for the game. It really doesn't need one.
Yeah.
We could point to any one of the like 10, 20, 30, 40 other YouTubers out there who have made videos showing off every single thing that went wrong with this game and basically compile that into a giant list and say, you want our review from Fallout 76? Watch all of these guys. Everything they say in there is exactly what we would say, so enjoy their stuff, and that's our review.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you've seen the video of Fallout 76, your AAA gaming experience video, where it's a compilation of Twitch streamers playing Fallout 76, and it shows all the bugs that they've encountered.
Yep. I didn't expect the bit with Joe when he came in. He was telling that I actually had to watch his review to notice this one, where he basically tells whoever's on the other side to stop messing with, I think it was. I actually don't want to say this out loud. He basically told whoever was on the other end of the mic making weird noises, it's like, stop jerking off and turn your mic off. That was hilarious.
Oh god. And there's no story to this fucking game, which is what Bethesda wants, because Bethesda can't tell a story for shit. And oh my god.
Which funnily enough, now that I think about it, the only thing about this game that is even close to what could be considered classic Fallout is this. The end of the game, and I'm not even going to bother with a spoiler tag here. If you're listening at this point, just expect us to say what exactly the ending is like, because there's really no reason to hide it. The end of the story is you nuking the areas that are spawning the Scorch Beast, and then taking out the Scorch Beast Queen in the end, i.e. the Skyrim dragon repurposed for Fallout. So that is the whole story, is getting rid of these things, but in so doing, you nuke Appalachia, and essentially it's just a self-defeating cycle. There is no getting away from it. And that's really the only true Fallout part of this that I guess they got right. But the thing is, there's also the idea that the Bethesda servers, again, we have to talk about the game on this, the servers are so friggin' unstable that if you launch more than one nuke, it'll take the servers down because it can't handle it.
Oh, we will be shilling for Outer Worlds, Owing. In fact, I plan on doing the same thing that Gundam is going to do, and that is I'm going to buy the deluxe edition, their most expensive edition, and I'm going to send a photo of it to Bethesda as a fuck you to them.
I'll probably do this. I'll probably do the same on Twitter if they have a reasonably priced special edition. But yeah, this game is a complete embarrassment. I really can't believe that this game has not been recalled like Batman Arkham Knight was. That game was pulled off the shelves for 6 months and until they finally brought it back, and even then it wasn't that good.
Nope.
So maybe Bethesda should do the same. Just take the hit, take it off the market for 6 months, and then put it back up. But no, they've already got the microtransactions up. People have data mined the game. They've found potentially what they're going to put in there later. And so if they take it off, they lose face. But again, they leave it on, they lose face. So whatever they do, they're screwed. The only good option to this would have just been to say, you know what, this game's just not going to work. It's canceled until further notice. But they didn't. But they didn't do it. So whatever. It's Bethesda.
No, because they wanted money now.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the same.
This game. There's no way this game was put together within 3 years' time. It had to be put together within 1 year's time. Probably.
It's because
you first. No, you first.
It's because Bethesda is like, they get so raging pissed when they see another company make a open world game. Like, you saw how they had the gall to release a mediocre piece of shit like Fallout 4 and have it compete with The Witcher 3, which is
And
which
of
was the
course,
game of the year.
and 76 was competing with Red Dead Redemption 2, and it got absolutely curb stomped.
Oh god, Rockstar not only curb stomped, but they pissed on their corpse.
Well, for the most part, I think they stopped short of. I think they stopped short of the full bladder, because if you've seen the prices of the microtransactions in the beta
Oh,
for
yeah.
online, it's horrendous.
But
Be-
but talking about the open world design and even some of the RPG mechanics, which it's funny because Red Dead Redemption 2 is not advertised as an RPG, it's advertised as an action adventure game and a shooter. But yet there's more RPG mechanics in that game than there is in Fallout 4 and 76 or even
Mhm.
Skyrim.
Yeah, it's, increase your health, increase your stamina, your deadeye, and your horses. I actually like the horse mechanics in that game. Believe it or not, it
And
took.
also you can also choose how Arthur interacts with the world and everything, how he
Yeah.
responds to it, the character.
Oh yeah, and Arthur, he may only have two general responses to things most times, as well as the pull your gun out option for a third. But that's still a lot more interesting for the kind of game that Red Dead Redemption 2 is, as opposed to 76.
That's better than yes, no, sarcastic yes, or no, yes.
Yeah, that's
What riveting dialogue for a RPG. That's really extensive. I mean, comprehend the difference
Also,
between
there's more.
yes, no, fantastic.
Also, your choices actually matter in how Arthur dies. Either he dies getting shot in the face by Micah, or he dies peacefully in his sleep, looking at the sunrise.
huh. Don't worry. I'm not gonna treat that as a spoiler. I've barely gotten like 10% of the way through the game, so by the time
Depends on how high your honor is. Like when after Arthur goes to the doctor and gets diagnosed with tuberculosis, like he will either see a wolf or an elk. And when he dies, his last vision is either of that of a wolf or an elk, depending on how low or high his honor is.
Interesting. Well, I guess it's a good thing then that I've been doing everything I can possibly do to be nice. And my honor is
Yeah.
pretty much tapped out at this point.
I'm planning on doing high honor too, but like kind of like I guess like Native American symbolism with that.
Yeah, and it's really not that hard to be a good person in Red Dead Redemption 2. You just have to be respectful, and if you notice somebody acting up, then then acting in self defense, it won't lower your honor, but just being an outright dick will.
Like punching thumbs or feeding them to alligators.
Oh man, I still need to do that myself. Just find one of them, pull the rope out, hog tie him right away, and drop him on the railroad tracks.
Do the one with the feminist and New Dennis.
I am planning on it as soon as I get there.
It's so funny because all the feminists were complaining. They're like, Rockstar made this character purposely annoying, and it's like, really? You just figured that out? It's not like you are in real life.
Yeah, it's like, how did you just figure that out? I mean, a lot of Rockstar caricatures are annoying. You're no exception.
Oh yeah,
but anyway,
art imitates life with that one though.
Yep. Although here's the thing I find disappointing. In the original Red Dead Redemption, there was actually an achievement, a Dick Dastardly achievement, where if you take a woman who's bound up and drop her on the railroad tracks and leave her there when the train runs her over, you'll get the achievement for that. They don't let you do that. They will let you do that.
No,
they let you do that in Red Dead Redemption 2, but there's no achievement for it. Yeah, so you can still do the same thing, but it's just for kicks.
I think that was 2K's input.
Yeah, same thing. I'm guessing the pro-feminist mission too. That was probably their idea as well. It might be Rockstar's though, but who knows?
No, I think that was 2K's because Rockstar said in the past that they take pride in the fact that their company is one where there's diversity of thought, that they have people that are both left wing and right wing working for them, and they take pride in that there's like I said, diversity of thought in their company instead of it being an echo chamber.
Yeah. Well, that's what we need more from these game developers these days. So it's good to see one of the biggest ones actually stand behind that and follow through with it.
But you have to understand, like, a lot of this stuff, like, the publishers are usually the ones that, like, no, you got to add this, you can't add that. But then you see some sneaky shit that Rockstar put in, like, for instance, if you talk with the feminist and you choose the antagonize option with Arthur during the feminist mission, and he's like, well, I believe that everybody should have the right to vote. And the feminist sneers at him, saying, we we wouldn't it's typical that a man wouldn't understand. And if you knew anything about the early suffragettes, they were quite racist. They were very racist.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So I think that might have been their little dig at the early suffragettes, because they're like, oh, we should have known that a man wouldn't understand, or it's just like a man did not understand.
Hmm. I never thought about that until now. Although,
It's like, and you think to yourself, wait a minute, shouldn't you be for everyone voting? So why do you say that we shouldn't be
oh yeah,
surprised that a
now I
man would
get. Okay,
understand?
now I see it. It took a second for it to click, but now I see it. It's like even if someone supports you, you're still going to sneer at them. I get it.
Yep.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, there was actually something else related to Fallout 76. You remember the Nuka World DLC? Apparently, there was a note slipped in there by this
Oh
person who
yeah,
was.
the developer where he's like,
Yeah, the developer was
should we not?
essentially warning Bethesda, like, at least 2 years prior, is like, this engine is a rust bucket. We need an update.
It's like we could spend less money on making a new engine in contrast to having to spend a shit ton on fixes and PR.
Yep, and he was right. Like 2 years ago, one of the developers inside Bethesda tried to warn the company with that little thing. I didn't even know that was in there. I was paying more
I
attention to the
didn't know.
me either. I I was just paying attention to the idea that the XO1 armor was in that area, pre-war location. So,
Oh yeah.
but then again, I mean, I have to refer to Guru Larry on this one because he's done a couple of videos that had rants and little bits of side code hidden away in games. So something like this would probably make it on his list if he had done them recently. Because that's actually a pretty nice dig at Bethesda. A developer saying that this engine is old, it needs an update, and nobody seems to be paying attention to its problems. And yet, if we ignore it, it's going to cost us more money down the line.
But they don't care. They think that their fan base and the modders are going to pull them out like they always.
Yeah, that's always bothered me. The people who are in the modding scene, they really need to take very special note of how Bethesda is treating this game.
They
And
work their modders worse than a fucking Chinese sweatshop.
well, sort of, but here's the thing.
At least you get paid in a Chinese sweatshop.
Yeah. Well, here's the counterpoint though. It's actually worse than that because the modders will willingly work days, weeks, months of their lives for nothing, for a company that gives them nothing, and yet does nothing more than steal their ideas. Like the customized lighting engine for 76, it was stolen from a Fallout 4 mod. That's all it was.
Yep.
Yeah, so Bethesda, like, modders, if you're hearing this, take a very, very, very good look at Bethesda and actually think about this. Is this the kind of company that you want to continue to support? They don't support you. Sometimes they look down on you. They steal your ideas. Why are you supporting them? Just why? It doesn't make any sense.
I remember Gundam talking about how he has a lot of modders from the Nexus talking to him, saying that they despise Bethesda, that they hate them, but they're so afraid of retaliation from them that they keep their mouth shut.
Well, here's the thing. The Bethesda really has no course for retaliation with these people. If they are pointing out open flaws in a game like this, they owe Bethesda nothing. So they could very easily expose Bethesda for what they are, and nothing would happen. Because they bought the game.
Problem is, you also got their fanboys too that will just attack them.
I suppose, but at the same time, I mean, if you if you start the conversation, here's something to remember. Starting a conversation in a situation like this is difficult. When you got people breathing down your necks like Bethesda fanboys, it's easy to look at it and think, oh, the stress probably isn't worth it. But here's the thing. It's very easy to ignore these idiots. Very easy. You just have to be a little careful. Like,
Yeah.
drop the information, get the conversation started, and just jump in when you know you have something to say. That's it. You don't have to pay attention to these knuckleheads who are trying to make your lives miserable. Just ignore them. Mute
Well,
them,
there's
block
some
them, whatever you can do.
well, there's some Nexus users that are taking jabs at Bethesda, like Jim UK. He was the one that made the New Vegas mod, the canvas bag, real canvas bag.
Oh yeah,
for
I
New
saw
Vegas.
that just on pure
The
chance.
joke.
That was beautiful. It's nicely played, man. Nicely played.
But yeah, Bethesda, like a lot of modders, like good modders, are not modding for Fallout anymore. Like some guy 2000, he said after the whole Bethesda.8's debacle and people stealing mods, he's not modding for Bethesda anymore.
Yeah,
And
he quit.
Lord of War, who made the awesome Fallout 4 NCR Ranger armor, people were stealing his mods and selling them on Bethesda.8s, and he pulled all his mods off Nexus and quit.
Yeah, Nexus really needs to get their game in shape too, because for all the stuff that gets stolen off there, they really need to have some way of protecting these creators. Maybe if Bethesda would communicate with them and say,
They tried.
who is the proper mod owner of this, and try and get in touch with them if a mod like that ends up on the store. And if they respond that this is not theirs or they never put it up there, then just pull it. It's not that hard.
It's sad because Nexus tried. They tried to contact Bethesda over mod theft. I mean, they were on it like immediately. They're like, we know that once Bethesda.8's the Creation Club releases, that there's going to be people stealing mods on the Nexus, and they tried to contact Bethesda over it, but Bethesda told them they should go get fucked.
It's like, again, this company, I can't really be
deplorable.
Yeah, well, I've run out of disgust to fling at Bethesda. Pretty much everything I could say about them has already been said for the past 3 years, if not more so. But at this point, it's progressing to the point not only of incompetence, but probably criminal liability. So if they end up with a lawsuit on their heads that they have to fight in court, so be it. It's their fault. They're the ones who allowed all this in the first place. Not us, the players and the buyers. We didn't do this. They did.
Yep. I mean, Bethesda. Here's what I think. I think Bethesda endorses people stealing mods because, as It's a Gundam said, Todd and Pete are primarily console gamers, and they hate the PC market, even though the PC market is the only reason why their games have had the lifespan that they had. But the PC market is also the most critical. PC gamers are also the most critical of Bethesda, so they're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, PC gamers are exceedingly critical, but at the same time, given the amount of money that PC gamers will spend on a rig and how much stuff they'll usually cram into their systems, I can't say they're exactly unjustified in essentially rubbing Bethesda's nose in it for doing such a bad job.
Dude, have you seen the Nvidia's new price tag for their 2080 Ti series? It's like $1,300.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's more than a Titan.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. The card I've got in my system, the card I have in my system right now is a Radeon is an R7 370. It's an AMD Radeon. So it runs pretty much everything I want at the very least on medium. It has a difficult time running Hitman even on low though, but I'll just need a video card upgrade for that. But it's a nice card. So I didn't spend a whole lot. I was kind of like a mid-range build for my system, but I still expect a game that is supposed to be running off an engine that's this old to run stably. And trying to run Fallout 3 these days, even with some of the new enhancements they got, is ridiculous. And I can't even imagine how bad Fallout 4 would have run on my system.
Oh, there are
Ones I
people that I've said that say that they have like $2,000 systems of the most high-end stuff that they able to get on the market, and they still have a hard time running Fallout 4. I know Total Biscuit before he died, and It's a Gundam said that they have like the most expensive PCs on the market that they've built, and they still have a hard time running Fallout 4.
Yeah,
Like it ran like shit.
yeah, it's a poorly optimized engine, and you can see it. But as Owing was pointing out, Morrowind on the Xbox did get a lot of shit. But here's the thing: Morrowind on the Xbox was actually reverse designed to work on a console from a PC interface. So that was the one instance where the situation is reversed. Nowadays, it's console first and then PC second. The PC is the port.
Notice how with uh, with Xbox 360 around with Skyrim's DLC, the DLCs came out first for Xbox. They did PC.
Yeah, the exclusivity stuff. But yeah, I didn't mind it too much at the time, and I actually found it kind of fortunate that the Fallout 76 beta came out first on the Xbox. I missed the option to get in there early though, because I was not going to become an Xbox insider, aka a shill, just to get 2 extra days and 8 extra hours. I just wasn't going to do it. But anyway, I mean, what else can we really say about Fallout 76? This has been one of the most splendid train wrecks I've seen in a long time, but at the same time, it's one of the clearest cases that you should never ever. He's making noise again, isn't he?
All the time whenever someone comes.
Well, anyway, at least he's watching the house. But anyway, yeah, this game has been just one slow motion train wreck for a month, and at times it makes me happy to watch, but the rest of the time it makes me wonder, people were actually delusional enough to pay money for this, and to support Bethesda when all their dirty laundry is being thrown out the window. Like, this is an embarrassment. The one they're never going to live down. Not even Rocksteady has lived down Arkham Knight after they pulled it from store shelves and fixed it up, because it's released in such a broken state that even today people haven't forgotten about it.
Oh yeah, why do Pete and Todd hate the PC market? Well, that's a good question. I have no idea. Because most PC gamers are primarily RPG gamers, and Pete and Todd don't like RPGs. They even said before they want Fallout and their games to be more like Call of Duty.
Yeah, they have openly said that, but
It makes no sense though. Like, why? They're an RPG studio, not like
they're not a studio. They're not a studio like Raven Software or Treyarch. They are not a studio that was made to build first-person shooters. That's not their specialty.
Because the Cinemax CEO sees how much fuck ton of money that Call of Duty is making, he wants some of that pie.
Yeah, and probably Fortnite too.
Oh god, yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, which we'll be talking about with the Game Awards, how all these post-apocalyptic games and
how they're all really neon
games,
looking and bright.
Yes, and it makes you want to puke my guts out.
Yeah, Far Cry New Dawn is doing it. Rage 2 is doing it. Jeez, what else?
Fallout 76 did it.
Yeah, the brighter color palette, that was a dead giveaway.
Which is funny, because you see Fallout 3 and how their color palette was more somber and gothic. And New Vegas had a Western color palette.
Actually, hang on a second. Hey, Owing, the only reason why Wasteland 1, quote-unquote, did it is because the game back then was running on a 256 color palette. But yeah, that is the joke. I just had to jump in and correct that, because the original Wasteland, like 256 colors, that's really all you can do when you have just 256 colors. Is everything looks like you made it in MS Paint. But the existence of games now that have like really weird neon color palettes like Rage and New Dawn and 76, it doesn't make any sense, because the post-apocalypse is not something that people usually associate with bright times, unless you're looking at something like Shadowrun.
even in Mad Max, like the color palette's very somber and dark and
Really muted.
gritty and muted and dirty.
Yeah. That's why I like the Mad Max films, quite honestly, looking back at them now, because it's not really it's not bright.
It's
It's really
not
kind of down to earth and gritty and somber.
and, and depressing,
Yeah. I mean,
which
for
is how it's
stuff.
supposed to be. I mean, it's mankind's fall from grace.
Hmm. Now, if you're talking something along the lines of, say, like Tech War or Buck Rogers in the 25th century, that sort of thing, I can kind of understand there being a brighter color palette because those are different times and different settings.
Yeah, and it's God. I mean, you could say because it's futuristic, like even like with Blade Runner, like how the color palette with that movie, those two movies are very somber and dark, and even though it takes place in a dystopian future,
Hmm.
technological future.
Yeah. Although, actually, embarrassingly, I'm actually kind of embarrassed to admit this. I have actually never seen Blade Runner all the way through. At best, I've seen clips, but not the whole movie.
Same here, but Tremere is a big Blade Runner fan. He's seen them all.
Okay. I'm assuming even the recent one, which I haven't heard the best news about.
Oh, it's really. I
Uh,
heard it's really good.
a lot of people like it. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm hearing mixed. I guess I'm hearing mixed signals about it. A lot of folks saying it's not good.
I'll even go on Blade Runner Metacritic.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
Maybe
sure it won
it's
a high
just
rating.
me, but I'm one of the folks who goes against the idea of a sequel. Like if something is really really good,
Yeah, a lot
then
of
it's
people
probably
like
best
it.
just to leave it alone. That's the way I look at it.
The user meta score is 8.2 out of like 10, and the
Well, that's
critics
pretty good for a
4.1.
user score.
Yeah, so it's pretty damn good according to
The only thing that I hear people say bad about it is that it's just a little too long. That's the only thing I've heard.
Hmm. Well, then again, I haven't seen either the first or the second movie all the way through, so if I sit down and watch both, I'll see for myself.
But yeah, but even like the color palette, like in a, like if you're making a dystopian post-apocalyptic society, like you mostly see like the color palettes be like pretty somber and gritty and dirty, like almost realistic. But now it's like, oh, Fortnite's popular. We need to make everything bright and colorful for the kiddies and fun.
I guess that explains why. I guess that explains why the YouTube Rewind video this year has turned into the most disliked video on YouTube.
Oh, that's just brilliant. It
That
was
is
wait,
so
that is
fucking
karmic
brilliant.
retribution right there.
I never saw it. What the fuck is up with that controversy?
Essentially, it's the most disliked video in YouTube's history. It just surpassed 10 million, probably 11 million dislikes.
Why do people hate it though?
It's
It's
basically
because
it's you.
it feels like corporate shillery. The entire thing plays like a live action Fortnite short. That's what it looks like.
And it's basically YouTube jerking themselves off.
Yeah, essentially, they've lost touch with their audience to the point where pretty much the entire video feels like a live action Fortnite commercial, and it's horrible. And they even have Ninja in there very early on just to give you a dead hint of what exactly they're trying to go for.
The guy who died of ligma.
No, the guy with that stupid teal blue hair who's always playing Fortnite on stream. That
That's
guy.
what I mean. They said he died of ligma.
Okay.
Here's Gundam's video. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's the meme. A lot of people were saying there was a meme going around that that dude died of ligma, and apparently it was just like a joke for like ligma balls because it sounded like because ligma balls or something like that, you know.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
I must have missed that. I wasn't paying too much attention to it. I was just paying attention to the disc like bar just climb higher and higher and higher.
Oh,
So I guess
it's
consider it
beautiful.
yeah, consider this an example of karmic retribution for not paying attention to your audience, YouTube.
Banning people left and right for making edgy jokes like Monkey Jones.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. But
It's
then
funny
again,
because
but then
he
again,
doesn't support that stuff. It's like he does his research and he makes like gallows humor about that stuff.
mhm.
And as someone whose family pretty much lives off gallows humor, it's just like, come on, YouTube.
Well, what do you expect? They're trying to sanitize the entire platform, even
And
though,
make it for kiddies.
like, not everything needs to be for children. If you try and make everything appeal to children, you're just going to turn off the, I guess, 60% of us who are adults.
Children and women.
Yep.
I'm
Like,
sorry, but I think I speak as just a normal gamer and a woman that I am so fucking sick of stuff that is being pandered to women. It is so fucking irritating,
and I
and
don't blame you.
it just makes you want to. It just makes you want to just grab a wrench and just hit myself in the head with it,
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Don't hurt yourself over somebody else's
or
stupidity.
be like, or better yet, be like Larry David and wash my hands and then jump out the window.
I never get tired of that meme. Like it
I
starts or it
know.
starts off nice and quiet, or the other variant of it where somebody just runs straight at the window, the camera doesn't move, and just like deep right out the window.
I know Gundam uses that a lot in his videos.
That is such a
Very
perfect meme. I love it.
and that and the kid holding on the couch cushion screaming.
Oh, that's a good one. Although I think the only one that could be better, I actually discovered this on one of the videos I was watching the other day, where some kid was convinced, I don't know by who, that a magnetic seal clasp over your phone makes it invulnerable to damage. So he had it wrapped up, and he hit it 2 times with a hammer, and he opens it up, and it's wrecked, and his eyes go wide in horror. He's like, "What have I done?" And his hands go to his head, and he's just like, "Ah, ah." It's like the words just can't come out. But
Another
then
good
again,
one.
but then again,
Uh,
then again, people like him are the same kind of people who made the iPhone gags like charge your phone in the microwave such a popular thing.
oh yeah.
I still remember the news for that. That was too perfect. It's like you people
another
cannot be so stupid to think that charging a phone in a microwave is a thing, and yet people
ano-
were.
another good one that I watched the Internet Historian is that these 4chaners started this rumor that Justin Bieber had cancer, and they were able to get all these girls to shave their head for Justin Bieber.
I did
Huh?
see that.
No, I remember the really old one where there was the cut for Beaver.
Oh,
Oh
like
god.
cut your skin or cut your wrist.
Yeah, like cut your wrist.
Oh, jeez.
People did that.
Yeah,
Oh,
they are
wow.
capable of many things. Oh, by the way, since you work at GameStop and I didn't ask you about this last time, how many calls have you gotten after the Battletoads trailer was released for E3?
For which E3?
I think this year's E3 or last year's.
Honestly, I have. Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about this. Which are you talking about the Killer Instinct one?
No, have you seen the new Battletoads trailer? Apparently they're making Battletoads.
No, I
Remaking
haven't.
Battletoads.
I'm only aware of them putting Rash in Killer Instinct, which honestly I love because I like having him in there as a fighter. But honestly, no, I haven't gotten any calls about that. We did get some gag calls when I was working for GameStop back in 2010. It was like, "Do you guys have Battletoads?" Oh,
It
that.
was just yes.
Oh, that. I actually completely forgot about that. It's like I completely forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Immediately after that trailer was released, GameStop got a flood of people calling it for Battletoads.
Yep. Although here's something interesting. I actually found this by digging around, but apparently on the SNES, I don't know if this is a legit card or not. I was just digging around a ROM site for this. Apparently, there's a crossover game between the Battletoads and the guys from Double Dragon. It was on the SNES.
I love the comment section. Can't wait for the 9001 Muck-ups edition.
Well, here's the thing: if that game specifically, I didn't even bother watching the trailer. I didn't pay attention to it too much. But here's what I would like them to do. I'd like them to imitate a little bit of Golden Axe Beast Rider, the Bouncer, and maybe a little bit of Legend of Zelda. If they can fit those three ideas into Battletoads, I'll be quite happy. Because Golden Axe Beast Rider had a pretty good aesthetic. The Bouncer had really solid gameplay on the PS2, even for being a launch title. And Legend of Zelda has really good Z-target fighting. So that takes care of the issue of where exactly do I punch and which direction do I face. So put those three things together and you'll probably have a good fighting game, if it is a fighting game.
I just love how everyone's like, we can call GameStop again.
Time to call GameStop again. Which by the way, I still have no idea. I haven't heard any news from the corporate heads about what exactly we're doing in response to that recent massive quarter loss, like $500 million. But I still hold to my opinion that it's because the company takes in too much product and doesn't turn around enough product. We need to start slowing down a little bit. Start taking in games that are actually complete, like with the case or the manual or something, in better condition than some of the stuff we take in, and start clearing out some of these collectibles, because some of these stores are just cramped to the ceiling with this stuff, and there's no room to move. Like, if we can't move around, the customers are going to notice that too, and they're not going to be happy.
Dude, isn't brick and mortar stores dying for like video games?
Sort of. It depends on who you talk to. There's plenty of people who come in looking for older stuff, but it's because we can't carry all the old stuff that people want, and that's the problem. And there's also the idea that GameStop is simply too expansive a company. There's too many stores. So that much business, including, I believe there's actually 5 within at least a 10-mile radius of one of the malls in my area. That many businesses of the same company in one area, that means a little bit too big a spread when it comes to business. It may mean more selection, but it means some of those stores won't be doing as well as others, and eventually they're going to close up. Plus, we've got ThinkGeek under our wing. They should be handling all the collectibles and leaving the games to us. But then again, I'm not a shareholder with the company, so I've got no say in this. I can just put my 2 cents out. But speaking of 2 cents and announcements, how about them Game Awards, huh? Oh boy, there were only 2 things I was paying attention to. One I was waiting for one I was waiting for, and one I didn't expect, but it dominated my thoughts for about a day afterwards. And we'll get to it.
It's a Gundam and Vladdy are both right when they said that the Game Awards is the equivalent of being waterboarded.
That's the equivalent of being waterboarded?
Yes, watching them is the equivalent of being waterboarded.
I suppose. Well, here's the thing. When you look at it in retrospect, excuse me, the Game Awards are essentially a mix of the Oscars and an advertising blitz. That's what the Game Awards is. The awards are just...
And anti-vaping.
Yeah, and anti-vaping ads, which I completely forgot that Truth was actually a thing. That was the kind of stuff I was told about in high school. That's a company I know way back from 2003. I didn't know they were still around.
Just let people fucking smoke. God damn it.
It's like, yeah.
Remember South Park did an episode on that. It's just like, let people fucking smoke. Who gives a shit what they put in their bodies?
And I think what people are worried about is that they end up having to front the cost for all these people. But that could eventually change. Just needs a couple of tweaks.
I mean, I don't smoke, but my members of my family do, and after a long, hard day, they like to have a glass of wine and a cigarette. Especially my mother, who works in the furniture business and has to deal with living in Olympia, having to deal with a bunch of homeless people camping out under her workplace and leaving their needles everywhere, and having to deal with bitchy ass customers, and also a fiance who just got done battling cancer. So you know what? Let them smoke and drink. God.
Yeah, if it's a stress reliever that they want to go with, that's fine. I mean, just let them do it. But yet, I think that counted like what 3, 4 truth ads before I stopped watching.
Oh, God.
I only watched
I
it.
watched.
I only watched it to see the announcement from Obsidian, which, as we know now, is the trailer for the Outer Worlds. And after that, it was
the
like
only
the
good
next.
thing about the Game Awards.
Yeah, they stole the show with that one. Not only saying that it was from the original creators, designers of Fallout, but also the designers of Fallout New Vegas. And then Chris Avallone chimed in. He's like, "Hey, this YouTube translate function is actually pretty on point, or something along those
Yeah,
lines." And it says "Fuck
Chris Avalon
you,
admitted
Bethesda."
that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chris Avalon admitted that that was a fuck you from Obsidian to Bethesda.
Oh man, they deserve it. Honestly, they deserve to be able to take an easy shot at them after the mess they've made this year.
On what they did to them.
Yeah, they got screwed over for bonuses, and a lot of people, I know people said that it wasn't really the money, it was the principle of the thing, but I imagine a lot of those guys were fuming mad that they didn't get the bonus just because of that one condition. And it was so close.
And also Bethesda's jealousy at them making a better Fallout game and them pretty much raping. It's not a good word, raping their child.
Yeah, it is.
And like pretty much parading its dead bloated corpse around and just like destroying the lore that they created.
It's like there's no better word that you could use for that. But either way, I mean, New Vegas definitely deserves the honor of the best Fallout game when it comes to the 7th generation of consoles. There was only 2,
Yep.
but it deserved to be recognized as the better one. It may have had a shorter development time, yes. It was buggy as hell in release and still is buggy now, sure. But here's the thing: the game is very much completable, and the story, you can take it in many different directions. And that's what people loved about it. They wanted that classic Fallout feel back. And we got it with New Vegas, but Bethesda doesn't want to give us that anymore. They just want to give us something that is an amalgamation of Minecraft, Call of Duty, Borderlands, and things like that. Yeah, and now Fortnite.
And they want to pander to the lowest common denominator and then ban the lowest common denominator for making gay jokes.
Yeah. Well, actually, Owing, he's asking what was so bad compared to Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and release date. It's because with Fallout 3, the biggest problem you really had was games for Windows Live if you were on a PC like I was. Plus, there was the problem with the engine that if you had more than one core, the game simply would not run properly. You had to literally restrict it to use just one core or two. Two at a stretch, but one was relatively stable. Yeah, the pirates actually got a better version of that until. Yep, piracy wins over a lot of things these days, and the games for Windows Live and the instability of Fallout 3 is an example why. They got a better product at launch than I did, running a PC that could handle it, and that's just pathetic. But anyway, back to the current day. Let's see. When it comes to the Game Awards, again, there's only 3 things I really remember about that. There was the trailer for Outer Worlds, which was great. There was Red Dead Redemption 2 winning pretty much every award in every category that it mattered, except for the very last one, which was the Game of the Year award. And I will bet my bottom dollar that it's because Sony shoved a lot of advertising cash in Jeff Keighley's pocket, and that's why it won the award. I will bet you my bottom dollar that's why.
Yep, that's the only reason why. And it's interesting that they did with God of War and not Spider-Man. You think they would have done Spider-Man, but I think God of War was more critically acclaimed than Spider-Man was.
I suppose, but here's the thing. In retrospect, I actually don't mind the God of War 1, because remember, the game has no microtransactions, no multiplayer, no extra DLC. It is just released and done. That's it. So
Here's the thing that I will give God of War a break on, and that is, it actually put fatherhood on a pedestal,
yeah, that's another thing. Is like
which
it's when
which the
that sort of
feminists hated.
yeah, I mean that sort of thing. I mean, if you even though the game itself was feature complete, that was another thing I noticed on a second look. It's like, yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 is great and all, but God of War is a really good father-son tale, and we don't see that a lot very often, especially not very good ones. So,
No, and also I was what surprised me also is that God of War also kind of took a stab at this phenomenon that I've been noticing a lot with women lately, and that is narcissistic motherhood.
really,
Because you look at yep, I'll bring that up because you look how Freya treated Baldur. That is narcissistic motherhood.
oh yeah,
Mothers who,
Freya was Baldur's mother, wasn't she?
yeah, and she kept on like trying to protect him, but not for his sake, but for her sake.
Essentially, I'm guessing because Baldur could easily have toppled her if he got loose, I guess. Honestly, the only I'm not really that well versed in Norse mythology that much. The closest I've come to it is mostly through the Shin Megami Tensei games, because some of the quote unquote demons you can unlock are from the Norse pantheon. But anyway, there was Red Dead Redemption 2 losing Game of the Year to God of War, which, retrospect, not a bad thing. The Outer Worlds trailer, and this was probably the most cringeworthy moment of the entire show, and I know people were talking about it left and right after it came up, and that was Sonic Fox making an ass of himself for being Esports Gamer of the Year, and bringing politics into it. Right with a speech in front of millions of people, he brought politics where the entire night had been pretty much avoiding it.
Yeah, just read the beginning of that. Does this not describe SJW parents in a nutshell?
Yeah, no, well, just in case, if for those of you who are listening to this, if you're not aware of what happened, essentially what happened is Sonic Fox, who is a furry, he won the award for Esports Gamer of the Year in a contest between 5 other people. So when he got on stage, he was clearly nervous about it. I could tell he was nervous just from the way he was behaving. But then he decides to stick his foot in his mouth and start saying over and over, at least twice, he says, "By the way, I'm gay." And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, nobody freaking cares.
And I'm black. And I'm a furry.
Pretty much everything a Republican hates. That's when people started getting angry with him.
I like what Gundam said. He goes, "Dude, a Republican doesn't even know who the fuck you are."
A lot of us certainly do now, because he's got his face and his message plastered everywhere. So
and then 4chan and Twitter decided to do some digging and found out that he enjoys seeing women who disagree with him getting assaulted.
Oh yeah, he did. He supported Cuck Norris, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So
God bless 4chan and
weaponized autism is wonderful sometimes, but yeah. That was the most cringeworthy part of the show, and about 15 minutes later, even though I had work the next day anyway, so I had to stop watching, but that just killed my mood to watch the whole thing. So that was the most embarrassing moment of the whole show right there. He, even if on accident, he drug politics into this, where the whole night had pretty much been avoiding it. So he really shouldn't have been surprised with the response he got, but then he just lumps everybody who was calling him out, regardless of their political standings, like, "Oh, I made a lot of Nazis angry, y'all can suck my dick." It's like, dude, you are a narcissistic child. Shut the hell up.
Oh, that describes, I'm sorry, but that describes a lot of the furry fandom.
Quite a lot.
Like, my god. Oh my god.
Well, here's the thing. From my side, that describes upwards of 90% of the ones that I know about. There's a handful out there like QQ and Dan Wolfgang and folks like that. They're pretty nice. Which, by the way, those two on Twitter, I recommend you check out. They're actually really involved in old. They like old stories, like pulp stories and stuff like that. So you'll see them talking about that a lot. But they're nice guys. So not all of them are like that, but it's a pretty sizable majority who are. And
Yeah,
that's
like
the
the ones that
unfortunate
like
thing.
the trash, like the ones that like to trash up a hotel in Seattle during a furry convention.
Oh yeah, again, Internet Historian's Fall of Rainforest video. I actually did not know about that until I watched it, but
Oh
keep
yeah, they kind of brought that up on the news years ago. I remember that about
yeah,
them like just trashing and destroying the Marriott
yeah. And here's the other sad
and
part when you
selling drugs.
and selling drugs too. But here's one thing to keep in mind also that according to a study that I remember, there's the furry community is majorly it's comprised of people who are age 24 and under. So take that into account with this destruction of the hotel. These are really young kids,
Children.
college age kids, and either don't know any better or didn't think they were going to get caught. So yeah,
No.
these were likely very young kids who were doing all this, but still, destruction of property, not something to idolize or something to support.
No, and I will also back to the VGAs. I will say though that it was enjoyable watching the verified Twitter users blow a gasket over the Far Cry New Dawn trailer because oh my god, two black women are the villains.
That
They were
was actually
supposed to be the heroes because they're like, oh, the cover art's about these two black. It's gonna be like Wolfenstein 2, and that these two black women are gonna beat up these white nationalist, post-apocalyptic Nazis. Nope, they're the bad guys.
And the funny
Which
thing is they really should have seen this coming because
I know
ever since Far Cry 3,
they,
Ubisoft has put the main villain on the front cover, front and center.
that's what I was
Vaz,
about to say.
yeah,
They and it's
Vaz,
funny
Pagan
too because
Min, Joseph Seed, and finally these two.
Mickey and Lou.
Yeah,
And it's funny because the villain, you think they would be fine because with Far Cry games, it's the villains that steal the show. That it's the game centers around the villains. They're the ones that have the most character and personality.
yeah, especially Vaz. I mean, people still love him to this day because he's such a really crazy loose cannon. You never know what he's going to do next, but he's just so fun to watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pagan Min wasn't as good. Joseph Seed, he was kind of a mix. I never understood why he didn't just kill the protagonist because he was causing so many problems with the cult. In fact, that's my major criticism of Far Cry 5 is when you get to a certain level of notoriety with the cult in a certain area, they will hunt you down and you are unable to avoid taking a story mission where you're captured and have to go through some kind of trial with them. And then they just dump you out in the middle of nowhere and think that's going to finish you off, and it doesn't. So,
Yeah.
if someone like this, even Joseph Seed, should be able to see that someone like you is extremely dangerous to his cult. So why doesn't he just kill you? He has every chance to. He has upwards of 8 chances to do so, and he doesn't. And you just destroy his entire plans from top to bottom.
Probably because he ended up being right in the end.
Yeah, it turns out with Far Cry New Dawn, he was right. He was prepping people for the post-apocalypse.
And you even see like that too a little bit in Far Cry 5. Like you hear like radio broadcasts and something about the stuff going on with the government and everything, like tensions rising between countries and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess that's why a lot of people weren't willing to believe the nuke ending originally. They thought it was just the main protagonist snapping and doing something evil, when come to find out that wasn't the case. It was actually the nuclear apocalypse. And now we got Far Cry New Dawn. Which I'll give them props for this. At least it's $40 at release and not $60.
Yeah, I will give Ubisoft that. They were right to price it lower than
Lower than full price,
game.
especially since they still have they've got the basic engine from Far Cry 5. They don't need to do that much.
And they're still using the same map too.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, why charge full price for something that you're using recycled assets with? Mentioning no names.
Yeah, no name.
Oh boy. But yeah, what other trailers from the Game Awards even stood out, quite frankly? The only one that kind of did for me was the revelation of Joker being in Smash Brothers. That was kind of cool.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
Which honestly, here's the thing. If we're putting characters not only from Sony in Smash Brothers, and Bayonetta's in there too, here's a character I would like to see in there. Put Duke Nukem in there.
Yeah.
Duke Nukem would be
Another
fun.
one. Another one. This wasn't shown at the VGAs, but The Witcher 3 and Monster Hunter are doing a collaboration, and Geralt's going to be featured in the DLC
Oh
as a
yeah,
story
I
mission.
almost forgot about that. That was actually kind of neat for a crossover idea.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know that The Witcher is getting quite a bit of a fan base with Japan.
Yeah, and good on them too. I mean, it is a good game. It's a good story, but I don't know.
It's nice to, and it's I know why you have you're kind of up in the air about it, but it's nice. It's refreshing to see a Western developer have a bit of a fan base with in the East, because God knows the stuff that we've been churning out has been nothing but crap.
Yeah, it's about time. It's about time a Western developer started getting some respect over in Japan, if even a little fan base too. Although the first instance of that I can think of is, if you guys remember the original Power Rangers that we made here back in '93, that was actually redubbed back into Japanese, and it became a big hit over there back in the '90s. That's the earliest instance I know of a Western product, even if it was Eastern inspired, becoming such a big hit in its home country.
Oh yeah.
That's actually kind of funny now that I think about it, because our versions are steadily getting worse and a little bit more sanitized, whereas the newer Super Sentai and Kamen Rider stuff is just getting more and more bonkers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's still pandering heavily to children, don't get me wrong, but they're getting a little bit more ridiculous, and honestly, I love it.
The thing is that the difference with how they target stuff for children in Japan in contrast to America is that they don't sanitize stuff for kids. It's like,
oh no, not at all.
Like with death and stuff, like in guns, like you see a lot of that sanitized in the United States.
Yeah,
Dude, the most fucked up thing I think I've like ever seen from anime came from Japan. You guys seen Akira?
yeah. Akira is
the fucking
freaking
ending.
crazy.
What the fuck?
There is a lot of really, like, it'll make your stomach turn body horror in that movie. It's gruesome, but I haven't seen it all the way through for that reason, because when I saw it for the first time, I kind of couldn't handle it. But the Japanese also gave us Gantz and High School of the Dead and things like that. And Goblin Slayer. Let's not forget Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer, that triggered 1,000 SJWs.
And it makes me so happy. I've got the first 3 volumes in my bookshelf, and I've read them at least twice a piece. It's a good story.
It's funny because Goblin Slayer was inspired by a lot of Japanese dark fantasy, which dark fantasy in Japan, it's dark.
Yeah, like, extremely dark.
And also, they were also inspired by Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the early Advanced Dungeons and Dragons too.
Yeah, the D&D edition that if your DM was really cool, he would reward you for making really clever choices. And my favorite with the Goblin Slayer, I believe this happens in volume 2, if I'm not mistaken, where when they're trying to escape a burning tree and there's all this smoke pouring out, there's a bunch of goblins behind him, and he gets out of the cave, or he gets out of the little hole there, and everybody else does too. He tells the mage to put up a shield right where the floor, it's like an archway. He essentially tells her to seal that archway, so not only can the goblins not get out, the smoke can't get out either, and they all choke to death. It's like, that is really, really clever. Like someone like him, you wouldn't think he would think of something like that. You'd think he'd just go in and slaughter them, but nope. He's actually quite a smart strategist too.
And resourceful. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're he doesn't like talk down to people like other party members too. Like when he met the priestess, like if
Yeah.
she like there are some spells that she can use. Like he would use whatever he can to help to kill the
Mm-hmm.
goblins. Like whatever
Plus,
resources that he has available.
yeah. Plus, just like in The Walking Dead, he taught her the trick of using the blood of your enemy to coat your smell. So
Yeah.
that was really, really clever. But yeah, Goblin Slayer, it's a good story. Don't let the mature tag throw you off. A lot of good stories in anime are mature rated, and as much as I hate Funimation, I have to admit that that Tokyo Ghoul season 1 was actually really, really good. That hit me a few times in the gut watching what was happening to this guy as he was slowly starting to realize that as much as he doesn't want it, he is a ghoul. So he's going to have to learn to start doing things he doesn't want.
It's quite funny. Like you see all the cool animation that's being made like by Japan and stuff, and then you see I'm pretty sure you saw that Crunchyroll pretty much scammed their users in order to fund this disgusting cutesy
Oh yeah,
SJW.
The CalArts project. I
Yeah, the
remember that.
CalArts project.
Yeah,
The fucking High Guardian Spice.
don't even call it that. Just call it the CalArts project. That's what I do.
CalArts is cancer.
Let's see. Well, Owing's got a question for us. Owing's got a question for us. It's like, hey guys, what are the most notorious sellout things you've ever witnessed? I can think of one right off the top of my head. Capcom selling out Street Fighter V to host ads on the player models. How's that?
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I thought it was just an ad that was going to show up in the background or something. But then I come to find out that they're actually slapping these tags on the player model. Like, that is really distracting when you see something like that on somebody's model. I mean, you don't want that in a fighting game. You don't want to have to look at something like that and get this weird thought in your head that distracts you.
Yeah, because that's what we want in our video games. Fucking ads.
Well, let's remind ourselves that Capcom has made a lot of stupid moves throughout the years. They had what was it? Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That old that 2x2 fighting game. They put gems in there that you could only get through pre-ordering. They're famous for on-disc DLC and all sorts of other things. It's like there's almost nothing that they've done that hasn't been mimicked by the industry elsewhere in some fashion.
And then, of course, there was Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and then Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite like 10 months later. So if you paid full price for Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you had to pay another full price to get all the extra stuff they added in the next game. And then, of course, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but that was more Disney's thing. They refused to let them use any characters that were owned by Fox at the time, which now Disney owns Fox.
Which, if you want to know how I ended up finding out that Disney was going to buy Fox, and Deadpool 2, there was quite a number of Disney jokes that they took out and censored.
Well, why am I not surprised?
You can't make fun of the almighty Disney.
Which, honestly, that company worries me. All the stuff in media they're buying up.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, somebody will have to do something about them at some point. I don't know what, but the company will probably have to be broken up into pieces if it gets too big. It's unavoidable.
It has to.
It's the same thing with a lot of services that we depend on, like Google. It needs to be broken down into pieces too.
Oh, I don't use Google anymore. I use DuckDuck.
Likewise, but I mean just the company. I mean the company as a whole for all the stuff they own and all the reach they have.
Oh, you mean like how during Obama's administration, Google had a headquarters in the White House?
Yeah, not that and many other things.
That's unsettling.
Mm-hmm. It's like, so a company that is supposed to be they're not supposed to be an aggregator. They are supposed to be a search engine company, and they're supposed to be a service company. They're not supposed to be distorting something that they have access to, and yet they do. Hence why, just like Disney, they need to be broken up into smaller pieces and possibly regulated.
I don't know how Mark Zuckerberg got away with the whole Cambridge Analytic thing.
Don't ask me, man. I don't know. But again, big companies break them up or regulate them. There's just no other way to put it these days.
Yeah, they just can't go
It's
free.
hard to do that when you have, oftentimes bought out politicians that tend to be like incredibly pro-capitalist, incredibly like anti-regulation, and it's very difficult to like actually have them to like think of something that is conceivably like rational. Instead, they want to play like partisan politics or whatever, and try to like look at it through their ideological lenses rather than looking at a practical,
Yeah, that's true.
reasonable solution to something. Rather, like, I mean, you might like, for instance, you might not like, um, issues that can't be solved by the free market, but you have to acknowledge that there's like, market failure forces and that some things the markets can't account for. And I don't think that having corporations, much like government control, like the flow of information on the internet, like I think both are equally like bad. And that's why I don't really like Google or like Twitter or like any of these social media like aggregates to like control like what viewers see or whatnot, even though I despise fake news with a passion.
Hmm. Well, here's the interesting thing. Are you guys aware that a service company like Google, if they start to selectively edit, remove, or restrict access to certain content, they are no longer considered a service. They are considered a publisher, and thus they are legally liable for anything that is potentially law-breaking or illegal that is hosted through them, because it's considered to be endorsement or hosting. So when you see these groups making moves against certain people of political factions, keep that in mind, that they are no longer a service; they're a publisher. And thus, if somebody comes forward and says, "Hey, if you are by hand removing certain people from your service or refusing them access, why are you also not removing these people who are clearly breaking the law? You have somebody combing this data, so why are they still here?" It's something that's been on the books apparently for decades when it comes to any type of service, that if you are to be considered a service, you must allow anybody and everybody to use it unless they are breaking the law. But if you start selectively removing people who are not breaking the law, that makes you into a publisher, and thus you are liable for the content that you host, willingly or not.
Anyway, back to the VGAs. I don't know why they're going to bother having the VGAs next year. I mean, we all know the game that's going to win the VGAs, and that is The Last of Us 2. We're lesbians.
Well, here's the thing. I honestly, well, don't write the whole year off just yet. We might have something interesting come out that fights for its crown. But again, it's also a Sony product, so it's very easy for Sony to just give Jeff Keighley a bunch of money and
And
rig
also the
the
stupid
results.
and also the stupid SJW politics too, which they admitted that that's going to be the focus of The Last of Us 2, and you're going to see the games media just like come themselves dry over it.
Yeah, I forgot about that completely. It's like,
Yeah, games. To be
again,
honest, I
well, I
don't
guess
really
I guess it's part of the
care
reason
much
why I wouldn't mind
for
if
it.
these companies started suffering the same way Bethesda is right now. They need a reality check.
I don't think The Last of Us 2 is going to be that bad. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be great or anything like that, but I don't think it's showing any signs of it being awful.
Oh, and they
Um,
also had Anita too to consult for the game as well.
Oh, lovely.
If you want to
Just
know what the kiss of death is, then there you go. She's like
yeah,
the grim fucking reaper of games.
yeah. It's like, I have no
You
idea
know,
when it's going to take to get rid of her, but
you know
hopefully,
that you know that meme of the grim reaper knocking on doors and everything.
I think
yeah,
you got to like ignore.
They
Like,
should
I think
Photoshop Anita's face on that to every fucking company that game has bombed, but she consulted, like Wolfenstein 2, Call of Duty, World War II, and everything.
That's actually not a funny. That's actually not a bad idea.
You have to ignore Nina. You can't give her attention because she wants attention.
The problem is that we don't want to give her attention. The fucking games the developers keep giving her attention.
And
I don't know.
unfortunately,
I
and
see a
we're the
lot
ones
of
who have to suffer in the end.
YouTubers. I see a lot of YouTubers making a shit ton of videos about her. I don't know. It seems like she's just irrelevant to me.
Well,
I don't
she
know.
is irrelevant in the YouTube space now, but she's still a problem when it comes to game developers because if she shows up, everybody knows what exactly she's there for.
I
So
think just like not. I think like not buying the games. Then maybe I don't know. Like there's like plenty of games in the indie sphere.
yeah, and that's part of the reason why I'm going for games like Immortal Redneck or looking at older games like Blood again, because those are games that have not been affected. And by the way, uh, if you're thinking about playing Blood, just play the original. Don't bother with the second one. The second one's horrible, but it's a good build engine game. Same thing with the original Shadow Warrior and Duke Nukem 3D.
Unless, even if Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, I still think that they're just going to give it to the Last of Us 2 We're Lesbians game because it's a game about it's going to be about lesbians.
I'm
That's
still
it.
and probably Sony's going to throw a bunch of money at the show again. So who knows?
Yeah. My favorite is I'm pretty sure you listen to Cheshire Cat Studios. Is that
Mm-hmm.
I remember them talking about how they had this guy on, and he's talking about this series that he wants to make, and they're like, "Okay, what's it about?" It's about these two women and they're lesbians. They're like, "Okay, what else?" They're lesbians, and that was it. That was all it
I
was
do
about.
remember that. That was pretty
And
funny.
they're like, thinking about it now, that guy was ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm. That was wasn't that Laughing Man who made that gag?
Yes.
Yeah, he comes up with a lot of good stuff. Although the one thing I find kind of disconcerting about him is the way that he laughs sometimes. Is like he gets this really high pitched shrill laugh.
So do I.
That catches
But
me by surprise sometimes.
But yeah, it's just like I've been noticing a lot of the political lesbianism too, and it's just like if you want to court female gamers, a majority of females aren't lesbians. I mean, I'm sorry, but every time I have no interest when I see lesbianism. It's like we're making a game where the main character is a lesbianism. I'm like, okay, not bi.
I'd be going one further and saying, so what
Yeah,
exactly makes them better than anybody else you could come up with?
I know, and it's so funny because you look at mods like made by female gamers. Like there's this one mod called Skyrim Romance, and the mod's about like romancing and everything, and it's catered to heterosexual women, and it's a very popular mod, and most women aren't lesbians. They want heteros. I'm sorry, but they want a heterosexual character in heterosexual romances. They
Yeah,
don't
besides, I
want.
mean, there is a reason why the idea of handsome man, pretty woman is a thing, and one of the most popular romantic images out there is because that is what people want. People want good men and they want nice women. That's just the fact of life.
That is. I mean, but it's like no. You see an attractive woman. That's rape. That's misogyny. That's pandering to the male gaze.
Oh boy. Well,
Beyond.
that reminds me. Since Owing mentioned virtue signaling right now. Actually, speaking of the VGAs, if you look back on it in retrospect, there actually was a lot of that in there.
Oh Jesus Christ! There was a shit ton of virtue
Like
signaling.
the guy who played Kratos, he was wearing a virtue
Kratos.
signal shirt. There was the pro disabled gamers, which even though I may be behind because I actually do have I guess not a crippling disability, but I do legally have one medically.
Same here. I have one too. But the
But yeah,
thing is that
the
it
sort of
was
thing is,
sponsored by Facebook Gaming.
yeah, sponsored by Facebook Gaming. It's like that is virtue signaling, full stop right there.
And the thing is, it's just like I know Gundam brought it up. It's just like when you got that little ounce of hope that hey, maybe they're doing something nice. They're doing something to showcase how gaming helped these people. Nope, it's a fucking ad for Facebook gaming.
Yeah, it's and of course the what else? What else do they have in there? The games, the game schools in India or some such. It's like, don't they have
Yeah,
other problems than
Pakistan.
that?
Yeah,
Mumbai.
people like slaughtering Christians and women nonstop.
Mm-hmm. But let's but apparently
Nothing
that's
wrong with a little bit of genocide.
well depending on what's going on over there anyway. But yeah, I saw that ad and I was thinking these people have more important things to be doing with their time
But I
than
can
learning
understand
how to
like
make
it's an
games.
escapism. I can understand like it's an escapism and everything. Like they're wanting to escape from like what's going on like in their lives or in the real world because they have no really control of their government because their governments are corrupt as hell, and they
Yeah,
want to do something that's fun and takes their mind off it. And then it's like, nope, another ad for Facebook gaming.
yep. It's like that was the Game Awards in a nutshell. A whole bunch of virtue signaling, and a whole bunch of
And
ads.
advertisement.
Yeah, the game awards, the actual awards were just like superfluous. You could have gotten rid of those and still had pretty much the same show, top to bottom.
Oh yeah. They should have just run it off a list
Actually,
or
they did do
posted it on
that. They
Twitter.
did do that the year before. Jeff Keighley actually zipped through the action game and the RPG game of the year. He just went, this award goes to this. 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 Thank you all, and it just continued. I guess people
Just
must have,
post it on Twitter.
yeah, may as well just do that and let people watch the ads that they want.
Instead of getting fucking anti-vaping ads. Just let people fucking smoke. God.
Again, the whole thing in retrospect, and several people brought this up. It was a
We
conglomeration
had
of
a
virtue signaling, top to bottom.
we had a bill. We had a bill in Ohio. It was a bill that would reduce sentencing for people who are on like drugs or whatever. Basically, what it would do instead was it would emphasize treatment rather than throw behind bars for like for a retarded amount of time.
Yeah,
Well, it got shot down. It got voted down because even though I literally saw no attack ads against it. I have only seen positive ads, and realistically, it was the most pragmatic and realistic and like morally like appropriate like approach to the issues with drug related issues in Ohio. Um, but like it got voted down, and and I don't know why. And my only guess is that a bunch of uneducated um really vindictive, like I don't know, like maybe people that just I don't know think people who are on drugs are like failures that like never change and just want to like throw away the key and lock them up or whatever. That have like no heart, because I can't see a logical defense in voting it down. We're more than the people who supported it, and even though that the people who supported it had ads going off left and right during election seasons, it got voted down. um so that's going to be a problem going
It's,
forward.
it's because the private prison industry probably put a lot of money in the politicians' pockets where you're
Like that's insane to me. I mean, a lot of Americans, like this issue doesn't get talked about enough. Like a lot of people will talk about, yeah, we have issues with like a war in Afghanistan that's still going on, or infrastructure and lead problems, or like healthcare related issues. Or not even really talk about those issues too much at the moment. Like no one will talk about, like no one on your local news station will ever talk about private prisons. Like it's just crazy. Like I think it's a huge issue, but no one will talk about it, and it's just sad.
actually, that's a very interesting point. But here's the I'd prefer it if these people were taken in for some kind of treatment and essentially weaned off of whatever stuff they're addicted to. At least give them a chance to break free. And if they simply can't do it and they just keep falling back into bad habits, then put them behind bars.
Well, it's not just like the treatment. It's not like just putting them in the treatment that's going to change things. A environment that they grow up in and live in afterwards is like just as important. Like if you're growing up in a fuck situation where you have like you're living in a place, you're like really fucked financially, you're in debt. I mean, you have legal costs. I mean, I've seen like a lot of police lie in their affidavits and like get warrants to like do no knocking warrants and blow into people's home and like refuse to pay for it, or like disproportionate policing in areas. Like if you're living in a situation where you're like financially and socially economically like disenfranchised and you turn towards drugs, like I don't think that the rehabilitation facilities are just enough. Like you have to like expand it.
Yeah, there is that.
Anyway,
Although,
It's a complicated issue.
back to the VGAs, but yeah, me and Tremere were watching the VGAs with each other because he was here about a week ago, and it was just a cringe fest. We just laughed our ass off at how cringy it was.
yeah, and the sad thing though, again, I'm just gonna touch on this for a fast second and then jump off. I found it really disconcerting that people were defending some of the stuff that was going on at that show. And when people were starting to notice some of the stuff that was going on, like the excessive amount of ads, either from Sony or Facebook Gaming or Truth. Truth, most people agreed on. There were a handful that said "Oh, it's ad space. They paid for it. They can show what they want." Not when they're showing it this many times within the space of 2 hours.
Oh,
That's a
it's so
lot of ad
irritating.
space.
I mean, when I saw all those hats, I'm like, you know what? I never smoked in my life, but I'm now gonna go buy a vape cigarette and smoke it while watching it.
I'm not even gonna bother. I mean, if something like that, I mean, you can get just the same. You could probably get the same reaction by getting those candy cigarettes and fake smoking those.
Or hell, I'll just go and rummage through my mom's purse and take out one of her cigarettes and smoke it in my room while watching the Truth ads. I'm like, fuck you. You just got a new smoker.
Use a tool instead of your own mouth. That's what I recommend. I mean, if you're gonna smoke something, at least fake it so it looks like you're getting your point across. But don't do it to yourself. It's not worth it.
No.
And that's just me. I'm not speaking as a Truth person. I was never a big fan of those ads.
Oh god, neither was I. I'm just like, just let these people smoke. Just stop trying to just stop it.
Well, people are gonna do it. Might as well quit. But let's see. I guess that's pretty much everything about the VGAs. The whole thing could have been a very fun time. I mean, having the heads from Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo on the stage at one time, and yet they're all talking about nothing of substance, just unity and community. It's like, duh, we know this. Try and talk about something a little more fun. Like take some digs at each other, for goodness sake. Don't be so stiff. I would have loved to.
Unity. I would have loved unity. Yet they won't allow cross.
Yeah, unity, but no crossplay. And Reggie could have easily poked fun at Phil. Was it Spencer or was it who was the guy who was representing PlayStation? I forgot his name. No, whatever. He could have very easily poked a jab at PlayStation for that. It's like, hey, maybe you should let your guys know to allow crossplay. A lot of people seem to want it.
Yeah,
that would have been funny.
Also, notice how they all wore like suits with sneakers. That really grated on me.
Yeah,
like
that's
Jeff Keighley did and everything. It's like, oh, we're dressed in these $2,000 shoes, dressed in $2,000 suits, but yet we're wearing sneakers, so we're relatable. It's like, oh, fuck off! You work for a major corporation.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. It's not that hard to find dress shoes that have like gel insoles, like memory foam insoles, and they're not even that expensive.
No, they just did it to make themselves look relatable. That's why.
I guess, but it still looks like they wimped out on going all the way. I mean, if you're gonna dress nice, do it right or don't do it at all.
Yeah. I mean, just my god. I mean, that was like really irritated me. I know it irritated Gundam too.
Yeah, it bugs a lot of people when you actually notice it. It's like, if you're gonna dress nice, just go all the way. Don't half-ass it. But I guess that's really all the VGAs really are. It's just a major cringe fest, superfluous awards, and a whole bunch of ads, and really nothing else. So aside from that, what else has happened this year of note?
Oh, there was the bully hunters.
Oh, geez, I forgot about that. How could I forget that?
Inclusive space for women. I know that was Tremere's favorite blunder of the year. Was that? That was glorious.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, it was even more of a blunder because they admitted later that the whole thing was just staged, and people actually fell for it and thought it was a real thing.
They all had the same microphone. One of what's funny is that I used to play a lot of multiplayer shooters like Call of Duty and everything, and I've never ever in my life was sexually harassed. If anything, I got guys wanting to be my friends and saying nice things to me and wanting me to be a part of their team constantly.
I
Here's the
haven't.
thing. Here's the
At,
thing, though. Sorry.
right. At best, I've just gotten a nice rating on Xbox Live, but otherwise, most of my internet stuff has usually consisted of team killing and people mouthing off in their microphones.
Here's the thing. I remember I played the entire Call of Duty World at War campaign with this one kid from Massachusetts, and we had a blast. And I had fun, quite a bit of fun, and it's so funny because I never. Because here's the thing. Like, there's this like poll because you know that stupid saying that 58%, 48% of gamers are females, which is a load of
Hmm.
horse shit. They're all mobile. Here's
Yeah.
the thing. Only 10% of the shooting first person shooter players are females, and only 22% of RPG players are females. So when a guy sees a girl play a game that's primarily male dominated, they like get the rocks off. They're excited. They're like, "Oh hell yeah, a girl that likes playing shooters. Fuck
I
yeah."
mean, who doesn't love that?
I know. It's like that's like every guy's dream girl is to have a girlfriend that likes playing the same games that they do.
Hmm.
That's something my brother laments about with his wife because my sister-in-law hates the games my brother plays.
Honestly, though, I would love. I would love. Here's the thing: the kind of lady I would be looking for is someone who likes to play Doom on occasion, the original. Just have a good old classic frag fest through Zandronum or something.
God, but yeah, it's just so funny. It's just like I never, and like all these girls are like, oh, we've been so sexually harassed and the terror and everything. It's just like, oh, crow's spine. It's trash talk. Guys trash talk of each other all the time. I can't tell you how many times my brother has been called a nigger and a fag playing PUBG. Jesus
It's well known
Christ.
for that. The fighting game community will do that to you too, depending on what scene you're in, anyway.
And not only that, but primarily the people that are saying those insults to you are 12-year-olds. So
Sorry.
you're clutching your pearls and getting terrified at a bunch of 12-year-olds
I'm back.
saying shit like this. Welcome back. We're talking about Bully Hunters, your favorite blunder of the year.
That was stupid. I don't know what they.
The whole thing was staged, and yet they held it up as a legit thing. There is no way the timing could have been that perfect on that recording. Not a chance.
I just love the things that they said too. Like they had the male say, like, "You want me to rape you? I can't get over how big her tits are. I'm gonna be a necro and rape your body." It's like,
I didn't believe that for a second. I mean,
no,
granted, if you're trying to be an edge lord and say things like that, sure, but I highly doubt that they would be able to catch somebody saying that, like,
no. Here's
legitly.
what you mostly hear from edgy teenagers, and that is gas the kikes, nigger fag, and faggot. That's what you get primarily called.
Yep.
Or Hitler did nothing wrong. The Jews did 9/11. Stuff like that.
Oh man, I'm still reminded of when 4chan managed to rig I think it was the slogan for Mountain Dew for Hitler did nothing wrong.
Hitler did nothing wrong. 1488 can't do it. 1941 and 1945 can do it again.
It's just too damn funny. You throw these guys in something, they're gonna come up with something fun.
Oh my god, it's just like that's the stuff you primarily hear from teenage edgelords and from gamers. It's stuff like that.
And just let them do whatever they want.
They don't. They
Unless they are legitimately breaking the law, don't punish them. If
yeah,
they're
it's just like, and don't dox him either. It's just like, my god, and it's just like you don't really hear sexual harassment from people. It's just like people saying like Nazi Nazi slogans and gay slurs or the N word.
at this point, we should all be we all should be desensitized to all that, but it seems a lot of people just aren't. They hear that sort of stuff and it's like an emotional dog whistle. Immediately they're on edge.
Oh, they get flashbacks.
Oh well,
They
not
get
my
PTSD
not my
attacks.
problem.
And this is like back to bully hunters. It's just like, my god. I'm like, I don't think I come across any girl that's been sexually been like had that. I play Total War, and there's not a lot of females that play Total War. And I remember I've written my review and everything, and a lot of guys are like, "Oh, thank God, thank you so much for writing this review."
I saw that. That was actually pretty impressive. That was a pretty impressive piece.
Really, you saw that?
Yeah, I did. I actually I followed the link and took a read over it. It's like, yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, and people were like, "Thank you so much. This needed to go out to Creative Assembly because this is not how you pander to a female audience if you want more females to play strategy games."
Yeah, no, not at all. Although, here's what I find hilarious. If you guys remember Hot Pepper Gaming at all?
I think I do.
Well, the funny thing is, the guy who was the creative lead, I think, or he was either the lead producer or the creative lead of Rome Total War 2. They had him on there They had him on there trying to push the game while he ate an extremely hot pepper. And the comments were like, "This is for releasing that glitch-filled mess of a game. This is what you get."
Nice.
So yeah, if you don't like the fans, then you may as well take the hot pepper.
Might as well.
I still remember Ego Raptor eating the ghost pepper and all the stuff he was saying. So he could barely keep a sentence together.
Oh, you don't want to eat ghost peppers. I avoid ghost peppers, even though my family's Mexican.
It's hilarious now, but I can't even imagine how much pain that poor guy was in from eating that thing. That must have left him like in pain for a week.
Going to the bathroom. I mean, if you think it hurts going in, imagine it going out.
Yeah, don't even want to think about that. Although I did like the bit that he had at the end of the video. He's like, he asked, "This is like a scientifically engineered pepper, right?" And someone off camera goes, "No, it's naturally grown." God is a dick.
I think they also use those peppers too, like for
bear mace.
Yeah, peppers. Yeah, for bear mace.
Yeah, because not only is it gonna make the bear flinch, but that is extremely toxic stuff. You get that in your eyes. If you get that in your eyes, it's gonna damage them.
And if it could take down a bull grizzly, imagine what it can do to a person.
Yeah, I mean, if a grizzly is gonna flinch from that stuff getting in its eyes, and a human, you'd probably have to go to the hospital for that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's actually kind of unsettling now that I say it out loud. But anyway, so yeah, that's the Bully Hunters, the Game Awards, Fallout 76. What else has happened this year of note? I'm honestly, it's like
the Twitch thought.
The thought audit. Yes.
Thought audit.
Oh boy, I mean, it was only
female Twitch streamers.
It was only a matter of time. They should have seen this coming. They really should have.
Like, oh my god, how can this happen? Like, I'm just streaming. It's not like God, I'm too good for porn. I don't want to do porn. I just want to flash my titties to a bunch of 12-year-olds and get $13,000.
Nobody's too good for taxes, though.
Nope.
No, not a chance. And honestly, though, this is another thing that I mean with when it comes to services versus publishers, because Twitch will Twitch actually has a thing where some streamers will be banned for certain things. So they do have people who are hand selecting like who to ban and for certain reasons. So something like the thought audit, where people are literally getting super chat cash simply for flashing their bodies. If they're not reporting that to the IRS, that's tax evasion. That's fraud.
Or spreading their legs and showing camel toe or painting their bodies.
Yeah, that's the sort. You're not supposed to show that sort of content on Twitch. It even has it in their terms of service that
No, but
you cannot show
Twitch is a
something that is.
glorified pimp.
Yep. And even though the rules are, I guess, ambiguous, but they're still clear enough that you can at least get an idea of what they're going for. If they're ignoring their own rules, then they are a publisher, and they need to be held accountable for these people.
Oh, the Twitch CEO is such a freaking soy boy, and he's so like being domineered by these Twitch thoughts too. Twitch is nothing but a glorified pimp at this point.
Which makes me wonder what exactly would be a good replacement for Twitch. I mean,
love this. There's Curse.
There's what?
There's Curse.
Oh, Curse Gaming. I barely remember them, although it might be worth looking into. The guys responsible for the Game Genie, you said?
A Good Game TV.
Oh, okay.
Put on.
Okay. Well, I might have to consider them if I ever get back into doing game streaming. I mean, now that I've got Tony Hawk's Underground, now that I've got Thug Pro installed on my system, I've been playing that on and off. Which, by the way, I still think it'd be fun if you and I both had that game and competed against each other.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, have you ever played Tony Hawk games? Any of them?
I have not, but my neighbors used to play them all the time.
Oh man, you are missing out if you've never played the Tony Hawk games. They're some of the best skateboarding arcade games that I've ever played. At least until you get to, I think it's Project 8. And Project 8 and Proving Grounds. Avoid those unless you are extremely confident, because even I can't beat Proving Grounds. And I've played the games for over a decade now.
Oh my god,
it's hard. Like
off topic, but sorry.
Well, here's the thing: if you want an example of how hard Proving Ground is, it's essentially the equivalent of what Blood is to the original Doom. The Doom is about a base standard for difficulty when it comes to first-person shooters, but Blood is extremely difficult. You have to take into account not only your own movement, but enemy actions, availability of ammo, how you can use it, things like that. It's an extremely difficult game when you're playing on higher levels. And Proving Ground is one of the hardest arcade games I've played when it comes to Tony Hawk. Because you've got ridiculous goals such as I think it's like either 7 grinds or 7 spins on certain objects, and you can't be out of a combo at any time. If you fall out of the combo, then it's over. It's difficult, but it's Proving Ground is if Doom is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, then Blood would be Proving Grounds. That's how difficult it is and how much of a skill gap it takes to play them.
Oh god, my brother just posted this on his Facebook. Survey. Some say Santa should be rebranded female or gender neutral.
Oh, I saw that.
Damn it.
Say,
stop! Stop, please stop.
It's like they're not gonna stop until they get slapped back and forcibly told to stop.
God.
But anyway, let's see. Where were we? The thought audit.
Twitch thought audit.
Yep. People being paid to report Twitch thoughts. That's actually pretty funny.
That's great.
I mean,
they deserve it.
It is kind of open for abuse because you can easily just put anybody's name in there and potentially get paid. So I'm hoping they have something in place where if they actually find the person to be violating tax laws and doing this sort of thing, then the person gets paid.
I'm pretty sure that the IRS will look it up, and plus, these Twitch thoughts have so many enemies, especially with the incel community. Which, by the way, the incel community is cancer, but this is going to be an amazing war. I mean, they probably have them all numbered down and everything.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens to Twitch the further this goes on. Because at this point, I mean, if they're not willing to obey their own terms of service and their own rules, then what is the point of them existing in the first place?
Oh, Twitch is probably like shaking in their boots right now. The thought of that their little cash cows and their whores are going to be audited by the IRS. There's nothing they can do to protect them.
Yep, and again, because they actually have hand-selected people to ban in the past for frivolous reasons, they would be considered a publisher and thus legally liable for all of this.
Like the guy who pretended to be Amarith, who was like putting his flesh between his chest up, saying and mocking her, saying, "This is nice." Who's that one streamer that does it? Asmareth or whatever. You're getting sleepy, and making fun of her. And he got banned for life from Twitch. And he actually did something useful, like tell people like what to do with the stocks and everything, and how the stock market works and stuff. Like he was actually doing something contributing. While
really?
Amarith, yeah,
I had no idea he was going that far. That's interesting.
Yeah, while Amarith dresses up like a French maid and suggestively jerks off a feather duster, and that's quality content.
Yeah, that's ugh.
Hey Mom, what's up?
Or what Gundam's puppet Billy says: quality content. Take my money. Take my money.
Oh, that poor little puppet. He has his work cut out for him, and I'm not going to say the reason why, but yeah, it's just the puppet. I'm not going to say the reason why he's the only one on there, but yeah, sad story. I'm not going to mention it.
I know, but that's horrible. But I love when he uses like Billy the puppet, and Billy's like this SJW thought addict and corporate shill.
He's you remember how Joe has like corporate commando? That's what he feels like.
Yes.
It's
he
like,
is only much more funnier and more
just a lot funnier and not completely ripped off G.I. Joe.
Yeah, and plus I think Billy is a perfect representation of your average fanboy.
Oh God, here he goes again. He's getting angry. Oh boy.
Why do us all a favor and disappear, Gundam? Shut up, kitty.
Oh man. There's been a lot of
Christmas.
So much good stuff with him. Although, all right, so here's the thing: what's for stuff that's coming up next year, or stuff that's out right now. At least on a positive note, we'll start wrapping. I guess we can start wrapping things up with this. When it comes to, I mentioned shooters a minute ago with Blood. If you guys are looking for a good shooter to try, that actually it's made by a guy, I think just one person, through Unity, and it just recently released on Steam, like officially off early access. Try Dusk. Seriously, try it. It feels a lot like Blood and Shadow Warrior in the way that your character moves, and some of the mechanical and some of the movement quirks from older games, like strafe jumping and things like that. But otherwise, it's a really, really, really good shooter. But I want it to come on good old games before I buy it. I've seen plenty of gameplay of it. It looks fantastic. But give it a try if you want a modern, classic first-person shooter. Otherwise, I'm really crossing my fingers that Nintendo has a pro version of the Switch on the way next year. I'm holding off on buying the system just in case they are. Plus, we've got Biomutant coming out next year, I hope. and I think that's also partially being made by Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken. So them doing a game where you play a little kung fu fuzzball, and you can actually manipulate the body when you're adjusting your stats. So if you're tougher, your character is going to look more physically imposing. Whereas if he's more charismatic, he's going to look, I guess a little bit more charming as you can get with a little furball like that. But I can't wait for Biomutant to come out. That looks like fun.
Well, The Outer Worlds is one that I'm looking forward to, and Cyberpunk 2077 if they release it. And of course, there's Kingdom Hearts 3, and
Kingdom Hearts
I
3,
was.
I'm a little anxious about getting back into that, mostly because I'm not a fan of Disney.
I know, I don't blame you.
But granted, I mean it is Disney and Square Enix characters coming together in an RPG.
Yeah, and
So
it's fun. And
it's
it looks
hard
fun.
it's hard not to see the appeal of.
And also, I was looking forward to Three Kingdoms of how a Creative Assembly has been acting lately. I'm on the fence about that.
Yeah, well, the Three Kingdoms is one of my favorite periods in Chinese history, mostly because I'm such a big Dynasty Warriors fan. And I was willing to try it until they started making these stupid moves as of late, and it's like, I'll pass. And if I want my Three Kingdoms fix, I can just pull out Warriors Orochi 4 or Dynasty Warriors 9, and I'll still get it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm actually kind of surprised that Dynasty Warriors 9 had such a negative reception. But it seems like the 6th game and the 9th game actually didn't get very good reception because it broke too much from the formula. But still a good game. I mean, if you want to try it, get it for $20, but don't get it for a full 60 if you're curious. I think though what people were expecting with a Dynasty Warriors game that was open world was a whole lot more in the game versus just run from one place to another like you're playing a Ubisoft game, which I can kind of understand. I mean, if the game feels empty, sure, downrate it for that, but otherwise as an open world Dynasty Warriors game, I liked it a lot. Otherwise, there's really not much to look forward to for this next year. Unfortunately, Cyberpunk's kind of in my sight. Biomutants coming out. Xenonauts 2, I believe, is coming out next year too, and I like the first one. It's basically just a modern recreation of UFO defense, the original XCOM, and I guess this shows my inexperience with the game because I have a hard time getting past even 3 missions without all my guys getting killed.
Yeah, I don't think 2019 is going to be a good year for gaming. Probably a good year for indie gaming, but not the AAA market, which they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, the AAA gaming is due for a downsizing at some point, but what we really need is more middle market titles, honestly. We need more stuff like the Technomancer and the Surge. Honestly, both of those I really liked. The Technomancer, it's basically a double A attempt at mirroring what what BioWare tried with Mass Effect, because it doesn't have real time with pause. It's got real time with slowdown. But the game is very heavily melee based as opposed to like gun based, and it's pretty interesting. Plus, you got the Surge, which is a lot like. I'm just going to take the pro journalism route here. It's very much like Dark Souls, but the core gimmick of it is you are able to cut off limbs of your enemies, and any sort of part that they drop, you can attach it to yourself, which is useful. Still worth a look, both games. Not bad, but they're definitely not for someone who's not a fan of stuff like Mass Effect or the Dark Souls series. See, otherwise there's Ghost of a Tale, I think, that came out this year. It's a really good really good stealth game. I never figured it would be this good. Plus, plus you can play as a mouse, hiding from and fighting rats. Good times. I don't know. I mean, was there really anything else besides all the stuff we just mentioned?
I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, me either. I'm at a loss. I guess the only AAA game I really had my eye on that I liked this year was Hitman 2. And even then, Hitman 2 was in no way perfect. Granted, you did have the ability to play all the old missions in the Hitman 2 engine, updated with different things, like, say, for example, in the tutorial mission. And now it's actually mandatory that you shoot out the lights that are illuminating the ledge outside of the room where the target waits, because if you stand too close to them and the lights are still on, people on the ground level will be able to see you. Whereas in the original Hitman, that wasn't the case. Guards would only see what was directly in front of them in a cone. And when you were out of that cone, you were pretty much safe. But now they can actually see not only in the cone, they can also see up. So if you're trying to cross like way over someone's head, they'll still see you if you give them enough time if you stand there and give them enough time to see you. So I like the new changes, but I didn't like the fact that the Hawke's Bay mission in New Zealand is so dinky and tiny. Like, that was one of the 6 maps, and it's just a glorified tutorial. So we basically got shorted on that map. And I think the 2 DLC maps that are coming probably next year, I think that's where the extra effort went. And of course, the mission was so small and insubstantial. My very first time through it, I managed to finish it with suit only. It's like, I have never been able to do that on a Hitman mission on my first try, and with no deaths. That's just sad.
So should we start wrapping up?
Yeah, I think so. This podcast was a lot shorter than I thought it would be. I was hoping some of the other guys would come. I was hoping some of the other guys would come in, but I guess this Saturday, close to Christmas, it's extremely busy.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of them were probably extremely busy.
Yeah, it was depressing. Fallout 76 or something, but a giant depression.
Well, I guess. Here's the thing. It depends on who you talk to. I mean, for us, it's depressing and kind of cathartic because we're seeing Bethesda, they're
crash and burn.
Yeah, they're reaping what they sow. It's been a long time coming, but now it's coming home to roost. They are reaping what they sow. Whereas for everybody else on the internet, they're just looking at this like if they never got involved in it, they're just sitting back and laughing. Those of us who love the series, we're just wincing in pain every time this stuff happens. Because we love this series. We don't want to see it die a tortured death. But it only took Bethesda 3 tries to make their equivalent of Brotherhood of Steel. Or POS, as we call it.
The series is already dead. Fallout 4 killed it. They stabbed it repeatedly. And that's it.
Yeah, Fallout 4 was a husk of what made Fallout. So you could probably consider it like... No, I'm not even going to make that analogy because Fallout Tactics was much more Fallout than Fallout 4 was.
At least Fallout Tactics was a spin-off, and they advertised it as a spin-off.
Yeah, so whatever happened in there was just part of this. Yeah, it was non-canon or semi-canon, as Bethesda put it.
Yeah, well, because Bethesda doesn't have any ideas.
Yeah.
And my God, and Fallout 4 is a main entry into the series, and it's nothing but fucking fan fiction.
Yeah, may as well call it fan fiction.
Where's my son? Where is he?
And that was the second time that Bethesda used that story hook. They used it the
third one, looking for your dad. Now it's looking for your son, and of course the male character is always canon.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's another reason why I miss Fallout New Vegas is because Fallout New Vegas, it was ambiguous as to who the courier was. I mean,
yeah, I remember the game guide I have, which I gave Tremere when he came here, they sometimes refer to the courier as either male or female,
Yeah, that was actually
depending
pretty
on.
interesting. That they don't. Well, here's the. I guess if you talk to, I guess if you talk to a writer, they would consider the grammatically correct way of doing it as just making it they all the time. Just
Yeah,
use they or some kind of other tense. But it
gender
makes it,
neutral in
yeah, but it,
order for to whoever the player desires.
yeah, but it's also much more interesting to flip every once in a while. Sometimes say he or she, because if the
Yeah,
protagonist can be either one of those two sexes, then why not write the text in such a way that it could imply either?
exactly. Considering how the world, which I miss about video games now, is how the world interacts with what your sex is. Like if you're a male or female. Like if you're a female and you interact with the Legion, oh boy,
Yeah, I've
oh some
actually
of the
have not
shit they
tried
say to
that
you.
myself. Although, Owing's actually got a really funny thing right here. His little gag is next time in Fallout 5 we'll be looking for the protagonist's sweet roll. The Father, the Son, and the sweetest roll. The Holy Trinity complete.
Oh yeah, no Holy Trinity. Oh my god.
It'll not as good a Trinity as Blood, Shadow Warrior, and Duke Nukem though, but good try. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This was a very Fallout 76 centric podcast for most of it. We did touch on
As
some
it
other
should
things.
be.
Yeah, we did touch on some other things, but I don't know. This whole year has been a faceplant. This whole year has been a faceplant, not only for the industry but for a lot of other people as well. Just an
As it should.
embarrassment. Yep. I mean, this is all the stuff coming home to roost. After so many years, all this stuff is coming in to cash the check and pay the piper, and everybody's seeing it for what it is. So, yeah, don't shed any tears. Just enjoy it for what it is, and when it dies, let it go.
Oh, I've been enjoying the hell out of this. It's so hilarious.
Yeah, Bethesda is they are grossly incompetent, and
And they're
76
still
is
gonna use the same piece of shit engine for Starfield and
Elder
Elder
Scrolls
Scrolls
6.
6.
There is no way. They have to be smarter than that. If they're that stupid to reuse the engine for another two games, and with their track record of fixes and I don't think so. I mean, people have seen this for what it is, and they are not going to trust Bethesda after this. At least I hope they won't. Although I can't speak for everybody in the Bethesda fan base, but I know for a fact that I'm not as stupid as some of the people in that fan base. I know you're not stupid, and I know Tremere's not stupid, or O-Wing, or any of the guys in this group.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah,
neither is MMA either.
none of us are stupid. We see the writing on the wall here. I mean, here's the thing, though. Here's a bit of news I'd like to see. I would like to see some kind of news as to the state of Wasteland 3. At least give us some news about that. I want to see a little bit more.
I heard that was supposed to come out next year.
If it does, then that's just going to be another middle finger in Bethesda's face.
That Wasteland 3 and Outer Worlds, 2 actual RPGs.
Yeah, 2 actual RPGs, one set in space and the other one set in the post-apocalypse. Both
and
of
both
those,
are made by the creators of the original Fallout
yep,
and New Vegas.
yep. Throw them, put them in different studios all you like, but they have talent, and if they find a way, they'll show it off.
I just can't get over what Bethesda has done to this franchise. This was someone else's baby, and they completely destroyed it and made it into a cash grab for a
They
bunch
made
of
it into a joke.
dumbass.
They made it into a joke. Is
They
what they
did.
did.
They made it to pander to the dumbass, idiot, mass fan base who are the kind of people that like Gundam says, go on Twitter and see something that says you should like this now. Oh yes, I do like this. I've always been a fan of this.
Mm.
Just consume. I'm a flyover cow. Moo.
Moo
Like,
moo.
yeah, if that's the kind of mindset that people are taking into something like 76, then they may as well just play Goat Simulator. That thing was a Twitch hit for a while, and yet it's kind of vanished off the radar. Barely anybody remembers it.
Remember what was that one stupid game that were almost hyping up as to be like the next thing, but it was like an epic fail? I think it had something to do with like it was like some game where you played as like aliens or something and you like hunted people. Um fuck, what was it called? It had egregious DLC practices, had like 1 billion DLCs for it. Trying to remember what it
Uh,
was called. I think was it hold on. Alien it was something.
you said it had a bunch of DLCs for it.
Yeah, it had like a shit ton of DLCs for it. Like that was like really overpriced. I think it was called
Um,
Evolve. Eve.
it's not Star Citizen, is it?
Nah, that's another piece of shit.
Yeah, I never got it. I never got invested in that, but
Was it Evolve? No, it wasn't Arc. It was not Arc. It wasn't. It was like
it's not Rust either.
nah. It was like It's because it was an alien. It was a game where like it was like a Alien versus Predator type game where you played as like the humans hunting down like aliens or something.
I have no idea, man.
I was like some Evolve game or something. I can't remember. It was
XCOM.
no, it wasn't. It was
No,
a
it
because
wasn't. It
it
wasn't.
was a first person shooter game.
That was
Survival.
first-person survival shooter. Jeez, I have no idea.
See the meme I posted.
Yeah, Bethesda, you turned them against me. Obsidian, you done that to yourself. And superimposed over Anakin and Obi-Wan's faces. It's like, it couldn't be more apt.
Wait, didn't Hunt Down the Freeman come out this year as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
Hunt
it
Down the
did.
Free. Forgot about that.
Hunt down the refund.
God,
Oh god.
what a fucking meme game. How like you know this like I can't believe this game was actually made. You know this game is like a failure, like it's doomed to fail. If you have fucking Keemstar as your president.
Hmm.
And
Why?
IHE as one of the characters too.
Oh, they had a
It's
bunch
like
of YouTubers voicing the characters, didn't they?
And I
yeah.
hate everything just went off on it too. I watched this one guy called Cynical Reviews, and he played it the entire game, and it was awful. He's like, "This is just bad." He's like, "It's horrible."
Just another example of why there's no quality control with Steam.
Nope.
Like,
I want to find that fucking
it's the
meme.
same. It's the same thing with the Nintendo Seal.
Oh,
The
it was
Nintendo
Evolve.
Seal of quality.
Yeah, it was Evolve, but it's not on the Steam Marketplace anymore.
Nope, not at all. Not anymore. It's been delisted, I think.
Yeah, it was called Evolve. I can't find it, but yeah, basically, this game, was so like it was so bad, like probably like War Z level bad, like the game, the War Z, or
Yeah.
they changed their names to like Infestation Survival Stories. Basically, what Evolve did was they released the game at $60, right, and it had like a lot of problems with balancing issues. And then they decided to release a metric fuck ton of paid DLCs. I think over like $100+, and you also had starter kits, so you could also buy like not only like base game, which was like $40 or $60, but also like a starter kit that was like another $40 or $60. And at that point, it just kept on going on and on and on. It was just all.
And eventually people just got sick of it and the community died. So eventually what they did, I think they just released it as free to play. But even that couldn't help and it just died. I'm still seeing used copies in the used bin at my store for like $5 or less. So we can't get rid of these things. But then again, that's their own freaking fault. They should have thought a little bit more intelligently about what makes a game like this.
Hunt Down the Freeman. That was great.
Honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to anything that happened with that.
That's my favorite mistake of the year. That was fucking grand. It was a good fucking meme.
Everyone wants Half-Life 3, and Valve is telling them to fuck off, and then they're like, oh, we'll give you this fan project instead that's mediocre and a piece of shit.
Uh,
BioWing.
see you later, man. Oh boy, but yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the Hunt Down the Freeman stuff, aside from stuff that comes from, I guess, GGG Man and Icarus Lives. Those are the only guys who even mentioned the thing in the first place, and even then I had no idea it existed. But then, yeah, I start seeing all the news popping up about it. I see some of the reviews showing up, and it's like, yeah, no wonder nobody's talking about it. This thing's garbage.
You fucked up my face. Best line ever.
I guess honestly, this year has been a really nice example for why I don't use Steam as opposed to good old games. They may be making a bunch of mistakes by kowtowing to people who don't use their service, but they're still pretty much the only game in town where you can get DRM-free games, and for that I'll support them. They just need to learn to grow a spine and probably some thicker balls. I don't know. I suppose that's everything. This year's been packed with mistakes, but at the end of it all, it's like everybody's so exhausted by the whole thing. We just want to forget that most of it happened. And a lot of these, like you guys bringing the stuff up out of nowhere, a lot of it I'd completely forgotten about. So I don't know. Maybe it's for the best that this year is going to go partially forgotten, aside from the real big muck-ups. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Well, I guess here's to 2019 and whatever that year brings. Well, what exactly can it bring though? I guess we've hit a low point, so it can only go up from here, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, let's hope so. But anyway, so if you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you for listening. We'll be cutting it short. And tonight, this is probably going to be, I think, our first podcast that runs under 3 hours, which I think is a record for us, aside from the impromptu one. But yeah, it was just 3 of us in here tonight. I guess the holidays are getting in the faces of everybody's plans. So for tonight, thanks for stopping and listening just to the 3 of us. I'm Agent BJ09.
I'm Ranger Boo.
And Lone Tremere.
And we will see y'all next time, either at the end of the year, at the start of the next, or I guess with a little bit of luck, the next time Bethesda makes a mistake. I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of mud puddles being filled up by rain in the distance, so maybe they'll trip and fall into one of them. We'll see. But until then, have a good one.